Chapter 526. Xinghui, you should have reached the Tianhuang continent by now, right? We are now very curious about how you can travel between the Tianhuang continent and the eastern wilderness so easily. What method did you use to cross the distance of tens of millions of kilometers so easily? Nayland Fei asked curiously. As a member of the Sky Dome continent, you should know that the incarnation technique is derived from the 25th level of the chaos level, right? It's very simple to travel between the continents so easily, as long as you have the incarnation technique and upgrade your personal space to the 10th level. In addition, you can also use the teleportation technique derived from the 30th level of the chaos level. However, the teleportation technique has a longer cooldown time, and the advantage is that it doesn't require a spiritual imprint as coordinates, and there are no drawbacks of weakening. On the other hand, the incarnation technique requires coordinates, and on the other hand, the weakening effect is unavoidable. It is said that even after upgrading the incarnation technique to the 10th level, there will still be at least 1 day of weakness and 3 days of recovery. The 10th level personal space combined with the incarnation technique. This is the path of the Voidwalkers. Nayland Fei naturally knew about the incarnation technique and the personal space. She was a little taken aback when she heard Xinghui's words, but after thinking about it carefully, it was reasonable. The Voidwalkers may have to pay the price of the personal space of the 10th level, but their biggest advantage was that they could quickly obtain a lot of cultivation resources. After all, the Voidwalkers would gain a few or even 10 Dao rhythms every time they made a trip. Even if they recovered every 10 days, they could still make a net profit of 300 or 400 Dao rhythms in a year. Not to mention powerful experts, even some Saint Realm giants could not reach such a level of profit. However, in order to achieve a cycle of 10 days, the incarnation technique must at least be at the 5th level. In other words, the Voidwalker's chaos level had to be at the 29th level, which was at least at the level of powerful experts. Otherwise, they would not be able to maintain their chaos level at the 29th level. The chaos level of the Voidwalkers is not good at fighting, and has always been the favorite target of the Sons of Chaos. Xinghui, you have to be careful. Don't be too high profile in the Tianhuang continent, lest you be targeted. Nayland Fei said. Xinghui paused for a moment before nodding. Don't worry, I understand. The combination of backtrack and immortal body made it almost impossible to kill him as long as he did not step into a trap or was deliberately targeted. However, Nayland Fei kindly reminded Xinghui, so he naturally did not say anything. May I know why Grand Elder Xinghui has returned to the Eastern Wasteland? As long as our Hunyuan Heaven sect can do it, we'll do our best. Tang Sun cautiously probed. This time, I came to the Eastern Barren Territory for 2 reasons. The first reason is the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce. But now that the problem has been solved, there is only the second reason left, which is to unify the Eastern Barren Territory. From today onwards, the Eastern Barren Territory will become a single entity. There will be no more 9 Great Saint sects or 10 Great Saint sects. Even forces like the Wanxiang City and the Heavenly Medicine Alliance will cease to exist. Xinghui said calmly. But these words set off stormy waves in the hearts of everyone present. This was especially true for Tang Sun. A long time ago, when Xinghui had risen to power, he had already predicted that such a day would come. However, he never imagined that this day would come so quickly. Before they had the time to establish a force in the Sword Will and find a suitable backer, Xinghui had already conceived the idea of conquering the Eastern Barren Territory and becoming its overlord. It took quite a while for Tang Sun to return to his senses. He reminded him in a rather obscure manner, Great Elder of Qing Su, this matter is probably going to be quite difficult to carry out. You should know that most of the sects in the Eastern Wilderness basically have the support of some powerful organizations of chaos. Even though these organizations of chaos can't compare to colossal organizations like Heaven's Vault, Grand Exalt, Temple of Saints, Crimson Wings, or even Heavenly Tao, Eternity, and Divine Wilderness, every single one of them would have several great powerhouses watching over them. If we were only ordering them to submit to us and become the leaders of the Eastern Wilderness, these organizations of chaos wouldn't say anything. However, If you really do plan on uniting the entire eastern wilderness and not giving those sects any chance to survive, that would be tantamount to violating the interests of the organizations of chaos behind them. By then, those organizations of chaos would definitely not let this matter rest so easily. They won't let this matter rest? So what if they don't want to let this matter rest? Tang Sun glanced at Duanmu Tong, who was at the Golden Core realm behind Xing Hui, and said, "Those chaos organizations will definitely have one or two almighty existences whose avatars are at a higher level. Once these almighty existences send down their Golden Core realm avatars, their battle prowess won't be something that ordinary Golden Core realm cultivators can withstand. Therefore, Grand Elder Xing Hui should think twice before acting. Is that so? I feel that those chaos organizations will wisely choose to withdraw from the Eastern Barren Territory and give up the benefits of the Eastern Barren Territory. The only one I need to talk to is Shadow Sword, but I believe that after talking to me, Shadow Sword will make the right choice. If Grand Elder Tang Sun doesn't believe me, we can wait and see." Tang Sun saw that Xing Hui had made up his mind. Although he wanted to continue dissuading him, he didn't know what to say. He could only wait until this matter was over before sending a message to the upper echelons of the sect to discuss a suitable solution. After briefly meeting with Tang Sun and the others, Xing Hui returned to the palace that was specially prepared for him. When he arrived at his palace, before he could cultivate, Nayland Fei had already caught up with him. "Xing Hui, do you really intend to take this opportunity to unify the Eastern Barren Territory? Recently, the Heavenly Way's power in the Eastern Barren Territory has been uprooted. Many chaos organizations have lost the suppression of the Heavenly Way and have become very active. Among them, Shadow Sword, who is as famous as Tianqiong, is one of the best. Furthermore, Shadow Sword chose the second most powerful sect after the Create Evolve Mysterious sect, the Wuji Sword sect. It is said that the Wuji Sword sect has already produced a batch of Sons of Chaos with Shadow Sword support. Although they don't have any high-level existences, their overall strength has increased significantly. Furthermore, since Shadow Sword has invested so much in the Wuji Sword sect in the past 2 years, it is clear that they don't intend to give up on the benefits of the Eastern Barren Territory in the short term. Under such circumstances, if you want to unify the Eastern Barren Territory, they will definitely become your biggest obstacle. If things go wrong, there might really be almighty existences sending down their Golden Core Realm avatars to stop you. So what if they are Golden Core Realm avatars?" Xing Hui smiled and didn't explain in detail. Instead, he said, "Go and find out the details of how I destroyed the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce from those from the Sea-Suppressing Palace. Once you know the details, you will naturally understand where my confidence comes from." "The details of how you destroyed the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce?" Nayland Fei was slightly taken aback. She looked at Xing Hui as he stepped into his room. In the end, she didn't follow him. Instead, she turned around and went to look for the people from the Sea-Suppressing Palace. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In these 3 days, the entire Eastern Barren Territory was in turmoil. After 2 years of peace, Xing Hui was once again stirred up by the arrival of Xing Hui. This was especially so when Xing Hui sent a few Golden Core Realm cultivators, dozens of Transformative Realm cultivators, and Endless Realm cultivators to the other Saint sects to invite the leaders of these Saint sects to a meeting at the Wonderful Mountain Range. This caused the entire continent to be shocked and furious. These Golden Core Realm, Endless Realm, and Transformative Realm cultivators belonged to the Hidden Sword sect. They were different from Xing Hui. Xing Hui considered the fact that they were all from the Eastern Barren Territory. Thus, he restrained himself a little. At least, he wouldn't kill them directly. However, the Hidden Sword sect cultivators didn't have such thoughts. They completely understood Xing Hui's orders. Whoever dared to disobey would be killed without mercy. The prominent Divine Realm, True Energy Realm, and even Transformative Realm cultivators who were regarded as the pillars of the Saint sects were the pride of their Saint sects. When they found out the real reason why Xing Hui had gathered them, they initially wanted to go against him. However, without exception, they were slaughtered by the Hidden Sword sect cultivators. In just 1 or 2 days, the number of prominent divine realm cultivators who died in the saint sects and the first-rate sects had reached double digits. The number of true energy realm cultivators had even reached 3. The Wuji Sword sect, in particular, had even lost a transformative realm patriarch. It could be said that they had suffered a great loss. Under such bloody and cruel coercion, no matter how unwilling these saint sects were, when the third day really came, the square in the wonderful mountain range where the disciples gathered was still filled with people. Even though these people were all filled with anger, some of them who had a card up their sleeves had a cold glint in their eyes. Obviously, they had a plan and were waiting to see Tsing Hui's good show. As the time approached, Tsing Hui, accompanied by Nailan Fei, Tang Sun, Yuan Bei, Zhua Kunlun, Wen Hui, Patriarch Nen Shun, Patriarch Qi Wu and others, appeared on the high platform in front of the square. However, although Tang Sun, Yuan Bei, Zhua Kunlun, Patriarch Qi Wu, Patriarch Nen Shun, and others accompanied Tsing Hui, they didn't stand as close as before. Obviously, even these saint sects who had the best relationship with Tsing Hui didn't support Tsing Hui's futile attempt to unify the Eastern Barren Territory and annex their Tao teachings. This scene fell into the eyes of some people, and they breathed a sigh of relief. Qing Su took in everyone's gazes and walked to the center of the platform expressionlessly. He cut to the chase. Everyone, we're all old acquaintances now, and this isn't the first time we've met, so I won't waste time on pleasantries. I believe you all understand why I've gathered you here today. I believe there's no need for the situation of the 9 sects in the Eastern Barren Territory to continue existing. From today onwards, there will only be one voice in the Eastern Barren Territory, and that's the voice of Qinglan Peak. Even if they had been mentally prepared in advance, when the crowd really heard Tsing Hui say these words, they still couldn't help but whisper. Most of them looked dignified, as if they had already expected that if they didn't obey Tsing Hui and merge their saint sects into Qinglan Peak, Tsing Hui would set off a bloody storm in their saint sects. Supreme Elder Tsing Hui, the lifeless sword master of the Wuji Sword sect, pondered for a moment. He had already stepped forward and was about to say something, but Tsing Hui didn't listen and continued the process of his grand plan. Now, let's go directly to the last part. Speaking of this, his eyes swept across the crowd one by one, with a terrifying power in his eyes. Regarding my proposal, who agrees and who disagrees? Chapter 527. Grand Elder Tsing Hui. After being ignored once, the lifeless sword master sucked in a deep breath and said in a heavy voice, Qing Su's great elder wants to leave the Hunyuan Heaven sect and establish his own sect. How should we deal with the Hunyuan Heaven sect's attitude? Obviously, he first shifted his attention to the conflict between Qinglan Peak and the Hunyuan Heaven sect. However, Tang Sun, Yuan Bei, Zhua Kunlun and the others didn't reject this approach. They also wanted to know how Tsing Hui would treat the Hunyuan Heaven sect after establishing Qinglan Peak. The Hunyuan Heaven sect? Tsing Hui swept a glance in the direction of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. The Hunyuan Heaven sect is the only sect that I can keep. It can exist as a subsidiary sect of Qinglan Peak. When we bow to Qinglan Peak, we can guarantee that our sect's inheritance will not be lost. This is the last concession I can make. Tsing Hui's words undoubtedly made the Hunyuan Heaven sect happy and worried. They were happy that the Hunyuan Heaven sect would be able to maintain its foundation, but they were worried because, from now on, there would be an overlord above them, and whether or not they would be able to maintain the sect's autonomy would be a problem. Grand Elder Tsing Hui, the Wuji Sword sect, is also willing to submit to Qinglan Peak established by Grand Elder Tsing Hui. From now on, we will contribute enough resources to Qinglan Peak every year and make Qinglan Peak our sect master force. The lifeless sword master took a deep breath and said in a low voice. His attitude surprised the cultivators of the Qiankuan sacred land and the 6 paths of God and demon. The Qiankuan sacred lands, Qiankuan sacred lands, Qiankuan sacred lands, Qiankuan sacred lands, Qiankuan sacred land even ignored Tsing Hui and secretly sent a voice transmission to Ancestor Stone Sword behind the lifeless sword master. Ancestor, what's going on? Didn't we agree to fight against Tsing Hui together? I have already contacted the Primal Chaos organization behind me. The Almighty who has been supporting our Qianquan Holy Land is willing to send down a never-ending realm incarnation to help us. Although his incarnation is only at the never-ending realm, with his own battle prowess and the amplification of his divine art, he can easily suppress a golden core. Adding on the primal chaos organization behind the 6 paths of gods and demons, as well as your sword shadow. What do we have to fear? Why should you bow down to him? Things have taken a turn for the worse. Before I came here, I heard that the people from the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce were not defeated by Tsing Hui. They were defeated with the help of the experts he brought with him. The reason why the people from the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce were unable to make a comeback was mainly because of Tsing Hui himself. He defeated the Golden Core Stage Elder of the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce, Bailey Feedy, with a single sword strike, displaying a strength that is not weaker than that of an almighty. We are guessing that he has already taken that crucial step. A crucial step? You mean almighty? This was impossible. When he left the continent 2 years ago, he was only at the transcendent state. How could he have become a mighty figure in such a short time? This was simply impossible. Where did he get this information? It doesn't make any sense at all. Why is it impossible? Don't forget how long it took Tsing Hui to cultivate from an ordinary person to a transcendent state expert who could dominate the eastern wilderness. Now, he has gone to the infinite barren region and received the full support of the invincible venerable Zhuzhao. If it was an ordinary person, I would never believe it, but Tsing Hui. There are simply too many miracles that have happened to him. Therefore, I had no choice but to send the lifeless sword master to test him out. Ancestor Stone Sword couldn't help but sigh at this point. The Heaven and Earth Saint Master didn't know how to reply. It was him. Other cultivators might not have been able to cultivate from the transcendent state to the mighty figure in just 2 years, but Tsing Hui's cultivation path could be considered a miracle. In just 8 or 9 years, he had grown from an ordinary person to a mighty figure who could dominate the eastern wilderness. Now that he had gone to the infinite barren region and received the support of the venerable Zhuzhao, it was entirely possible that he had reached the transcendent state in one go. Let's wait and see. Let's see how Tsing Hui reacts. If he agrees, it will undoubtedly prove that he's strong on the outside but weak on the inside. When the time comes, we'll reveal some of our trump cards and let him know how powerful we are. Then, we'll submit to him on the surface and make him feel better. I believe he'll make the right choice when the time comes. Then, what if he insists that there can only be one Qinglan Peak in the eastern wilderness? Ancestor Stone Sword fell silent. He didn't know how to reply. The two of them communicated telepathically. It sounded slow, but in reality, they had finished their conversation in just a few seconds. Only then did Qing Su slowly cast his gaze towards the lifeless sword master. I believe that I've already made my stance extremely clear. From today onwards, apart from the Hunyuan Heaven sect, there will no longer be a completely independent force in the eastern wilderness. Your Limitless Sword sect is naturally included. What? Does your Limitless Sword sect not take my words seriously? This, of course not, it's just that, the lifeless sword master saw that Tsing Hui was so strong. He gritted his teeth and said fiercely, "Our Wuji Sword sect is the inheritance of the Nether Sword Ancestor." After we reported this matter to the Nether Sword Ancestor, the Nether Sword Ancestor was extremely dissatisfied with Grand Elder Tsing Hui's words. He also said that if Grand Elder Tsing Hui insists on taking over the eastern wilderness and doesn't give anyone a way out, the Nether Sword Ancestor will take the time to personally talk to you. As soon as the lifeless sword master finished speaking, everyone's eyes focused on Tsing Hui. The Nether Sword Ancestor. The Wuji Sword sect's background was the Nether Sword Ancestor. He was an ancient and powerful almighty who had great magical powers. Now that the almighty had expressed his dissatisfaction with Tsing Hui, Tsing Hui's response would directly affect everyone's attitude towards Tsing Hui and Qinglan Peak. It would even further affect the entire eastern wilderness. Nether Sword Ancestor? Tsing Hui looked at the lifeless sword master and said, "Are you using the Nether Sword Ancestor's name to threaten me?" "We don't dare, it's just that." Before the lifeless sword master had even finished speaking, Ching Su had already waved his hand, refusing to back down at all. Since the Hellsword ancestor is displeased with what I've done, get him to come talk to me directly. And there's no need for the future. It's right now. I have the time right now. Seeing that Xing Hui was still unwilling to give up even after he had used the Nether Sword ancestor's name, the lifeless sword master could not help but feel angry. He said in a low voice, "Grand Elder Xing Hui, the Nether Sword ancestor is very busy every day. There's no need to disturb him over such a small matter. It's good that you understand what I'm saying. Once I really get the Nether Sword ancestor here, I'm afraid it won't be so easy." He very busy every day? Are you saying that it's a waste of time for me to give you an ultimatum with my current status? Xing Hui stared at the lifeless sword master and his eyes turned cold. I'll give you 10 breaths time to summon the Nether Sword ancestor here. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. You'll be the first sacrifice for me to unify the East Wilderness. The lifeless sword master's eyes narrowed, and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He did not doubt Xing Hui's words at all. Grand Elder Xing Hui, you've gone too far. If that's the case, then don't blame me for what happens next. The lifeless sword master's eyes were filled with fear and anger. In the next moment, he turned his attention to the Chaos Shrine. During this period of time, Sword Shadow had taken advantage of the fact that the Heavenly Axiom had no time to care about the East Wilderness. They had given the Wuji Sword sect a lot of support. Core members like the Lifeless Sword Master had regained their status as the Son of Chaos. Although their levels were lower, they could enter the Chaos Shrine easily. As the Lifeless Sword Master contacted the Nether Sword ancestor, all the sects and forces that had been tempted to take action kept quiet out of fear. They did not dare to say a word. If the Nether Sword ancestor really came and defeated Xing Hui, Qinglan Peak would still be able to rule the East Wilderness in name. However, as long as they did not remove the Nether Sword ancestor, they would not be able to become the true ruler of the East Wilderness. On the contrary, if the Nether Sword ancestor, who was an almighty, chose to stay out of trouble because of Xing Hui's identity and other reasons, then no one would be able to stop Qinglan Peak from unifying the East Wilderness. 10 breaths time, it's here. The dead silence in the square lasted for a moment before it was broken by Xing Hui's sudden voice. Then, without hesitation, he ordered the few Golden Core experts beside him, kill him and offer him to the sword. The few Golden Core experts who received the order responded at the same time. 2 of them even stepped out of the crowd and were about to attack. Although the gap between the true energy realm, the transcendent state, the never-ending state and the Golden Core realm was not huge, relatively speaking, the Golden Core realm was still stronger than the never-ending state, the transcendent state, and the true energy realm. The first attack of a Golden Core expert was able to unleash the power of the Golden Core, which was several times more powerful than a normal attack. Against a transcendent state expert who was 2 realms lower than the Golden Core expert, there was a high chance of killing him in one blow. Stop. I have already informed the Nether Sword ancestor. The Nether Sword ancestor will send a main battle clone soon. He will have a good talk with you then. When the Lifeless Sword Master saw the 2 Golden Core experts, his face turned pale and he quickly shouted. At the same time, he turned to Xing Hui and shouted, "Xing Hui, are you afraid? Are you worried that once the Nether Sword ancestor arrives, he will tear apart your disguise and cause Qinglan Peak to be besieged by the other sects?" Besieged? Xing Hui's gaze swept across the experts from the Qinghuan Sacred Ground, the 6 Paths of Celestial and Demons, the Giant Dragon Mountains, and the Pharaoh sect. He said expressionlessly, "As long as they have the guts. If they want to besiege me, I can finish off all the sects once and for all. I will wipe out the entire Eastern Wilderness and rebuild the cultivation world of the Eastern Wilderness. I will create a new Eastern Wilderness with Qinglan Peak as the center." Just as the Lifeless Sword Master was about to say something, a powerful aura suddenly emanated from the void, following which, the heaven and earth Yuan Qi within a radius of tens of kilometers started to condense rapidly. A figure gradually formed. Seeing this figure, the Lifeless Sword Master's face lit up with joy. He quickly shouted, He's here, the Nether Sword Ancestor is here. Tsing Hui, how dare you trouble the Nether Sword Ancestor? Even if you have the backing of Tianqiong, the Nether Sword Ancestor will not let you off easily. Chapter 528. The Nether Sword Ancestor. Great, the Nether Sword Ancestor has arrived. This aura is far beyond anyone else. Even a Golden Core stage expert can't compare to the Nether Sword Ancestor in terms of aura. Did you see that? Did you see that? The Nether Sword Ancestor, it's the Nether Sword Ancestor. He's the true backer of the Wuji Sword sect. He's the stabilizing force for the Wuji Sword sect's eternal prosperity. I heard that the Nether Sword Ancestor is a respected figure even among the Sword Shadows. Now that the Nether Sword Ancestor has arrived, he'll definitely be able to stabilize the situation in the Eastern Wilderness and stop Tsing Hui's ambition to unify the Eastern Wilderness and monopolize all the resources in the Eastern Wilderness. This clone, although its aura is amazing, why do I feel that it's not very strong? It doesn't seem to be a powerful main battle clone. What do you know? For an invincible existence like the Nether Sword Ancestor, it's easy for him to transform an ordinary clone into a main battle clone. Even if it's not a main battle clone, just the majestic sword intent in the clone is enough to kill an ordinary true energy stage expert or even a transcendent stage expert on the spot. Don't underestimate the power of the Nether Sword Ancestor's clone. You won't even know how you died. As the Nether Sword Ancestor's clone gradually took shape, everyone present was in an uproar, especially the many cultivators on the Wuji Sword sect's side. Some elders who had never seen the Nether Sword Ancestor's true body couldn't help but shout excitedly to vent their emotions. Compared to the excitement of the Wuji Sword sect, the Qingquan Sacred Land, the Six Paths of Gods and Demons, and the complicated emotions of the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect, the Green Lotus Sword sect, and the Jin Wu religion, Qinglan Peak was calm. Especially the core members such as Naylan Fei, Sky Origin Peak Master, Lord Jinhai, and Lingyu. They looked at the Nether Sword Ancestor calmly, but their eyes were filled with awe and disbelief when they glanced at Tsing Hui from time to time. Some of the middle and lower levels of Qinglan Peak who didn't know the inside story were a little uneasy, but this kind of uneasiness quickly settled down after seeing the confidence of the Qinglan Peak's higher-ups. Although there was worry in their eyes, they didn't show it. This scene fell into the eyes of Great Ancestor Stone Sword, who had been secretly observing the changes in the expressions of the people of Qinglan Peak, which made his heart sink. The feeling of something bad quickly rushed to his heart and completely occupied his heart. I hope that the news is just an exaggeration, otherwise, Patriarch Stonesword thought worriedly. Sword Ancestor. Lord Sword Ancestor, you finally come? You have no idea just how arrogant that kid Qing Su was earlier, as if he didn't take you seriously at all. It was exactly because of that we had no choice but to disturb the Sword Ancestor. The lifeless Sword Master was agitated. When he saw the incarnation of the Nether Sword Ancestor taking shape, he started to stir up a storm. However, before he could finish his words, he was reprimanded by the Nether Sword Ancestor. Shut up. The two words immediately made the lifeless Sword Master shiver in fright. He no longer dared to say anything else. However, the gaze he secretly glanced at Qing Su was filled with schadenfreude. The angrier the Nether Sword Ancestor was, the harsher he would be when he vented his anger on Qing Su. If the Sword Ancestor could directly punish him and even kill him on the spot, regardless of the fact that he was esteemed Zhu Zhao's disciple, that couldn't be better. Tsing Hui, is it? The Sword Ancestor's gaze fell on Tsing Hui with a trace of sternness in his eyes. Don't you know that Sword Shadow is now cooperating with Heaven Dome? Our purpose is to work together to fight against Heaven Dao? Even though I haven't confirmed whether or not you're esteemed Zhu Zhao's direct disciple, I've already received news that you have extremely high authority in Sky Dome. You're a core member. Why you so stubborn at this time? Why must you completely expel my force from Eastern Wilderness? Don't tell me you don't care about me just because you have the authority of a core member? Qing Su looked at the Nether Sword Ancestor and was rather surprised. He originally thought that the Netherworld Sword Progenitor's incarnation would be aggressive and denounce him, But he never imagined that the Netherworld Sword progenitor would only send an ordinary incarnation. This incarnation was so weak that it couldn't even be considered a prime incarnation. From his tone and attitude, it seemed that he was mostly reprimanding him and didn't seem to want to completely fall out with him. Since the Netherworld Sword ancestor had left him some leeway, Qing Su could not just draw his sword and go on a rampage. After all, the Netherworld Sword ancestor was telling the truth. Tianqiong and Sword Shadow were indeed working together right now, or in other words, apart from the heavenly Tao, the eternal, the divine wilderness, and the heavily infiltrated Grand Supremes, the other peak organizations of chaos were all potential allies. Their goal was to survive the battle between the three great organizations of chaos. As he thought about that, Qing Su's attitude softened slightly. The Netherworld Sword ancestor is a veteran great figure. He has lived for who knows how many millennia, so he obviously understands that there's an unspoken rule in the divine wilderness. Any great figure born on a continent outside of Tianhuang has the right to make the continent they come from their personal territory as long as they have the ability to do so. No one is allowed to interfere with that. The sword ancestor's expression changed slightly. He immediately sized up Xing Hui with a hint of bewilderment. Although I've only sent down an ordinary clone, and the clone's sensing ability can't be compared to the main body, I can faintly determine that you don't have the aura of a divine ability. How can you be called a great power if you haven't derived a divine ability? Even if you have a powerful force, how can you have the right to monopolize the eastern wilderness? After the sword ancestor finished speaking, he glanced at the golden core, endless, and transformative experts behind Xing Hui and narrowed his eyes. If we really want to compare forces, the team I can pull out is only stronger than the people in front of you. Xing Hui naturally believed this. The Nether Sword progenitor could be said to be one of the most ancient almighties. He had been alive for thousands of years. Even though he had refined a special bloodline, which allowed his lifespan to be greatly extended, his cultivation level could not be improved. However, in terms of power and subordinates in the Golden Elixir realm, many of the celestial phenomenon of heaven and earth level existences in the Sword Shadow could not be compared to him. Sometimes, the aura sensed isn't absolute. Xing Hui calmly agreed. He glanced at the many cultivators in the eastern wilderness. He couldn't be bothered to kill all the disloyal cultivators in the eastern wilderness. Since that was the case, the best way was to use absolute power to frighten all of them so that they wouldn't have any thoughts of resistance in their hearts. Although he was powerful in the past, he was only in the transformative realm. Therefore, these people still had hope in their hearts. But now, Sword Ancestor, I'll show you a sword move. After you see it, we'll talk about whether I have the right to monopolize the eastern wilderness and make it my territory. How about that? Although the Sword Ancestor didn't know where Xing Hui got his confidence from, he had to be cautious because of his core authority in the Sky Dome. This was also the reason why he didn't send down a Golden Core Realm main clone immediately. Now that he heard Xing Hui's words, he immediately said, "Okay, then I'll wait and see. Let's see if you have the ability of an almighty. If you do, I, Jianying, will immediately withdraw from the eastern wilderness from now on. All the arrangements and investments I've made over these years will be given to you. Congratulations on becoming the master of the eastern wilderness." As for what would happen if he didn't, there was no need to elaborate. Xing Hui nodded. He didn't deliberately lower his voice when he spoke with the Sword Ancestor, so everyone present heard it clearly. When Xing Hui claimed that he had the cultivation of an almighty and wanted to make the eastern wilderness his territory, the sects and forces that responded to the summons were all dumbfounded. Even the powerful leaders who ruled the Qianquan sacred ground, the six paths of God and demons, the Darrow sect, and the giant Dragon Mountain range were no exception. Almighty? Xing Hui actually claimed that he's an almighty? Xing Hui, wasn't he just in the transformative realm when he left the eastern wilderness 2 years ago? It's only been 2 years since he left, and he's already an almighty? Is it that easy to derive divine powers and become an almighty? But I remember that many books recorded that the Golden Core stage and the derivation of divine powers are equivalent to countless people's lifetime shackles. Without a peerless opportunity or the support of a powerful force, it's impossible to break through. Could it be that I'm wrong? From the transformative realm to the divine power realm in 2 years? Are we not cultivating the same system? All sorts of voices rang out from the crowd. Everyone looked at Tsing Hui, who was gradually rising from the high platform and rushing into the void. They were all dumbfounded. Almighty, Patriarch Stone Sword clenched his fists so tightly that blood seeped out of his palms. His face was filled with pain. It's over. This time, the Wuji sword sect was finished. Even though Tsing Hui hadn't drawn his sword, he could already see the Wuji sword sect's ending. Tens of thousands of years of inheritance would be cut off. No, it's fake, it's definitely fake. It's impossible for him to go from a transformative realm cultivator to an almighty in 2 years. The lifeless sword master stared at Tsing Hui, who was already standing in the void. His eyes were filled with fear for what was about to happen. Unfortunately, Tsing Hui, who was standing in the void, wouldn't stop his plan to unify the eastern wilderness and make this continent his own territory just because of his fear. Netherworld Sword Ancestor, please take a look. Tsing Hui said calmly. The Netherworld Sword Ancestor nodded. Almost at the moment he nodded, a light so bright that he couldn't look straight at it suddenly erupted from Tsing Hui's body. It was as if there was a dazzling sun on Tsing Hui's body, bringing with it a vast and majestic divine power. It shone down and filled his entire spiritual world in an instant. This light, it's not light, sword intent. This is sword intent. It's actually sword intent that can affect me. The Netherworld Sword Ancestor's calm face suddenly widened his eyes. His gaze was like lightning as it directly tore apart the layer of brilliant sword radiance that shone on his spiritual world. Then he saw with his own eyes a peerless sword aura erupt from Tsing Hui's divine sword. It tore apart the heavens with the supreme power of a falling sun, instantly crushing all the clouds in the sky into pieces. The mighty sword aura didn't dissipate for a long time. The blazing sword intent didn't dissipate for a long time. It was like a blazing sun that would never be extinguished, spanning across the sky and shining for eternity. Chapter 529. Dazzling. Due to the huge difference in their cultivations, other than the Nether Sword Ancestor, everyone present only had one impression when they saw Tsing Hui's sword light. Dazzling. It was dazzling to the extreme. It was like a blazing sun that emitted endless radiance. The divine light that it emitted lit up the entire sky and dazzled the entire world. Even the many Golden Core experts from the Hidden Sword sect could only vaguely see Tsing Hui's figure within the dazzling radiance. They were completely unable to capture the location of Tsing Hui's sword chi. Only the Nether Sword Ancestor could tear apart this dazzling radiance. After the dazzling radiance, everyone woke up one by one. Everyone could not help but feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts. Facing this sword intent that they could not see clearly and whose spiritual world was completely filled with sword intent, how were they going to defend against it? What were they going to use to defend against it? Especially when they saw the clouds and sky that had been torn apart in a radius of hundreds of kilometers, they did not even need to think to guess how powerful this sword was. Facing such a sword, there was no difference between the Golden Core realm, Endless realm, Transformative realm, True Energy realm, and Prominent Sage realm. There was only one outcome. For a time, countless people couldn't help but tremble. They were shocked by the dazzling and resplendent scene before them, and they were terrified by the destructive might contained within this sword strike. Divine ability. Divine ability. This is definitely a divine ability. A true divine ability. To be able to use a divine ability. Almighty, Lord Tsing Hui is a true almighty. Oh my God, I did not expect that I, who was born in the eastern wilderness, would actually be able to personally witness a powerful divine ability that he had comprehended. To be able to personally witness the vastness and majesty of a divine ability, I can die without regrets. After the initial shock, what followed was an uncontrollable outburst of exclamations. All the cultivators present who had witnessed Qing Su's slash were unable to stop the surging emotions in their hearts. They vented their emotions that could be called fanaticism madly, calling out and yelling, just to let the world know that they had witnessed the birth of a miracle. They had personally witnessed a scene that was enough to be recorded in the annals of the Eastern Wasteland's history. Divine ability. Almighty. Patriarch Stone Sword, who had personally witnessed this scene, felt as if all the energy in his body had been sucked out. His eyes turned pale. The Heaven and Earth's Sacred Master, Demon Lord Azura, and the others all had pale expressions. Almighty. They, cultivators who had not even reached the Endless Realm, actually wanted to go against the Almighty and go against his rule over the Eastern Wilderness. Did they think that they did not live long enough? Or did they feel that they were tired of living? From today onwards, there will only be one voice in the entire Eastern Wilderness. Patriarch Chi Wu's expression dimmed. Almighty outside of Heaven Wasteland have the right to designate the continent they were born on as their own territory. Before a second Almighty is born, no one can stop Tsing Hui from monopolizing the Eastern Wilderness. Even the Chaos organizations with the support of Top Almighty will not make an enemy out of another Almighty for the sake of the interests of a continent. Tang Sun looked at Tsing Hui. He already understood that from today onward, no one could stop Tsing Hui from doing anything in the Eastern Wilderness. After a moment, he glanced at the lifeless Sword Master, Ancestor Stone Sword, the Heaven and Earth Saint Master and the others. He felt a sliver of joy in his heart. Compared to the other great sacred sects, the Hunyuan Heaven sect at least allowed them to guarantee the sect's inheritance. Although they would have to acknowledge Qinglan Peak as their sect master and pay regular tributes, it was undoubtedly much better than the other sects being completely absorbed into Qinglan Peak. Nether Sword Ancestor, what do you think of my sword attack? Tsing Hui withdrew the Scarlet Abyss sword and said to the Nether Sword Ancestor, "Amazing! Although the power of this sword attack is slightly lacking in terms of group attacks, it can make up for this shortcoming in terms of cohesion. Based on the overall evaluation of this sword attack, it can be said to be above average even among the many offensive magical powers." The Nether Sword Ancestor sighed sincerely, and then his gaze fell on Tsing Hui. "Since you've already become an Almighty, before a second Almighty is born in the Eastern Wilderness, you naturally have the right to divide the Eastern Wilderness into your own territory and become the uncrowned king of the Eastern Wilderness. This is the tacit agreement of all forces in the Divine Wilderness." Tsing Hui nodded. After the Nether Sword Ancestor finished speaking, his gaze had already landed on the lifeless Sword Master. He was too lazy to waste time on him and directly said, "From today onwards, the Limitless Sword sect no longer exists. In the entire Eastern Wilderness, there will only be one voice, and that is Tsing Hui's voice. Jian Ying will withdraw from the Eastern Wilderness and will no longer interfere in the matters of the Eastern Wilderness. If you still insist on doing things your own way, then take care of your own life and death. I, Jian Ying, will no longer provide any assistance." After he finished speaking, he did not say anything else to the people of the Limitless Sword sect. He nodded at Tsing Hui, and his incarnation turned into a Yuan Qi storm and dissipated. Tsing Hui had become an almighty and ruled the Eastern Wilderness. Although this was the tacit agreement of the upper echelons of the Divine Wilderness, his actions had ultimately harmed Jian Ying's interests. The Nether Sword Ancestor could announce that Jian Ying was withdrawing from the Eastern Wilderness and would no longer interfere in the matters of the Eastern Wilderness. As for making the Nether Sword Ancestor express goodwill towards Tsing Hui, or even greet him warmly, that was naturally impossible. After the Nether Sword Ancestor announced his decision and his incarnation left, the atmosphere instantly became silent. On the other hand, Tsing Hui, after sending the Nether Sword Ancestor off, he looked at the Lifeless Sword Master and said, "Lifeless Sword Master, you have questioned my authority time and time again. Logically speaking, I should kill you right here and now. However, seeing that you are also a part of the Eastern Barren World, I will give you a cultivation. Destroy your own cultivation and I will spare you." When the Lifeless Sword Master saw Tsing Hui use his divine power to slash the heavens, he knew that he was completely finished. He was even mentally prepared to be killed by Tsing Hui after he had done a good deed. The reason why he did not escape immediately was because there were many Golden Core Realm experts watching him and there was no way he could escape. On the other hand, he did not want to cause Tsing Hui to vent his anger on the Limitless Sword Sect because of his escape, causing the Limitless Sword Sect to be plunged into misery and suffering. However, now that he heard Tsing Hui's words, he was actually willing to let him off. For a moment, he felt a sense of relief and was even more convinced of Tsing Hui's magnanimity. He immediately knelt down from the bottom of his heart and said, "I am grateful for Lord Tsing Hui's mercy. From now on, I am willing to be the most ordinary servant in Qinglan Peak and slowly start as a disciple. I will definitely not let down Lord Tsing Hui's kindness." As he spoke, he did not hesitate to destroy his own divine soul. Instantly, his face turned pale and the genuine qi all over his body seemed to have lost control as it leaked out of his body and turned into nothingness. To one side, Ancestor Stone Sword became gloomy when he saw how the lifeless Sword Master had ended up. This was because he knew that everything the lifeless Sword Master had done was for his own benefit. He did not have any selfish motives, and even after offending a great existence like Qing Su, he was still alive. This was already the best outcome he could have hoped for. At that moment, he took the lead to express his stance on behalf of the Limitless Sword Sect. The Limitless Sword Sect is willing to merge into Qinglan Peak. From now on, we will become one with Qinglan Peak and follow the orders of Qinglan Peak. Without Jian Ying's support, and Qing Su had already proven that he was indeed a great master who had manifested abilities, Ancestor Stone Sword no longer had any hope left. Instead, he pledged his allegiance as soon as possible, hoping to increase the Wuji Sword Sect's standing in Qing Su's heart. A divine power and a Golden Core Realm expert. Those were two completely different realms. If a businessman with a net worth of 1 billion was defeated by a competitor with a net worth of 2 billion in a project, he might not be willing to accept it. He would think of a way to make a comeback and compete again. However, if his competitor's total assets reached 100 billion, then he would definitely not think of overestimating himself and competing with the other party. Instead, he would think of ways to hug the thigh of the top group in the hope of getting the support of that large group. As soon as the Limitless Sword Sect expressed their stance, Ancestor Nen Shun of the Green Lotus Sword Sect, who had the best relationship with Tsing Hui, also hurriedly said, "The Green Lotus Sword Sect is also willing to merge into Qinglan Peak and become one with Qinglan Peak. From now on, we are willing to follow the orders of Qinglan Peak." The attitudes of the two major sects, the Limitless Sword Sect and the Green Lotus Sword Sect, immediately triggered the general trend. For a moment, whether it was Tang Sun, Zhua Kunlun, Ancestor Qi Wu, who had a good relationship with Tsing Hui, or the Heaven and Earth Holy Master, Azura Demon Lord, and the others who were faintly against him, all of them echoed, "We are also willing to join Qinglan Peak and become a member of Qinglan Peak. We will follow the orders of Qinglan Peak." Many of the sacred sects were like this, and the second-tier sects naturally did not dare to go against Qinglan Peak. Not long after, the entire square was filled with voices willing to join Qinglan Peak and become a member of Qinglan Peak. Seeing this scene, Neilin Fei, as the Peak Master, was mentally prepared. She had already guessed that Tsing Hui would be able to subdue the entire Eastern Wilderness with the power of the Almighty. However, when she saw this scene with her own eyes, she still could not recover from her shock for a long time. After a while, she hurriedly turned to Tsing Hui and said, "Tsing Hui, I can't continue to be the Peak Master of Qinglan Peak. I'm just a Qingming realm cultivator. How can I become the Peak Master who is above the prominent divine stage, true energy realm, and even the transformative and never-ending realm experts? The position of Peak Master should be given to you. No need. You should also know that I won't stay in the Eastern Wilderness for a long time. Naturally, I won't have time to deal with the affairs of the Eastern Wilderness. As for the problem of strength that you mentioned, it's not a problem at all. After the integration of the Eastern Wilderness, I'll go to the outside world and buy a few golden elixir realm war puppets for you to use. With these war puppets, suppressing the cultivators of the Eastern Wilderness will not be a problem at all. If the golden elixir realm war puppets can't deal with the experts of the Eastern Wilderness, you can send a message to me. I'll come to the Eastern Wilderness and deal with them personally. Nalan Fei listened for a moment and said, "Then we'll set up an additional position of Supreme Elder for you. The Supreme Elder will be above Qinglan Peak and even the entire Eastern Wilderness." After hearing this, Sing Hui's heart skipped a beat. About Qinglan Peak, you can take a good look at the system of the Hidden Sword Sect. Qinglan Peak can be changed to Qinglan Sect, but the difference is that the Hidden Sword Sect's 36 peaks are the original 9 sacred sects. As for the specific matters of the restructuring, I'll let the elders from the Hidden Sword Sect stay behind to cooperate with you. If you have any questions, you can ask them directly. The situation of the Hidden Sword Continent was similar to that of the Eastern Wilderness. Naturally, he could take a good look at it. He just had to be careful not to repeat the mistakes of the Hidden Sword Sect during this period of time. Okay, everything will be done according to your plan. Chapter 530. The Blazing Continent. It was a small continent less than 400,000 kilometers away from the meteoric Iron Continent. Calling it a small continent was a bit of an exaggeration. Strictly speaking, it was an island, a continent-sized island with a diameter of more than 10,000 kilometers. The entire island was actually formed by the eruption of an extremely terrifying volcano. The eruption of this volcano was caused by the meteoric Iron Continent falling into the sea from the Divine Wilderness Continent. It was said that the volcanic cloud formed by the eruption of this volcano covered the sky and the sun, spreading over millions of kilometers, almost turning this part of the sea into a dead land. Even after tens of thousands of years of sedimentation, the hundreds of thousands of kilometers of sea with this continent as the center of the sea were still rarely seen with ferocious beasts. It was almost impossible to see a powerful creature above the 6th level. After tens of thousands of years, the sea turned into mulberry fields. This volcano with a diameter of tens of millions of kilometers gradually quieted down. Although there was still blazing power inside and it erupted from time to time, it was far from being comparable to the power of the first eruption. Without the volcano's harm, the many mineral deposits formed by the volcanic eruption eventually evolved into rich resources, attracting countless people to move in. In addition, this continent was very close to the meteoric Iron Continent, so it became a channel for the meteoric Iron Continent to sell many divine weapons and alchemy products to the outside world. This made this originally small continent unusually prosperous, and countless cultivators came and went. At this moment, Sing Hui and the Hidden Sword Sect's Golden Core expert, Duan Mutong, were walking in the largest city on this continent, Gold Melting City. The restructuring of the Qinglan sect in the Eastern Wilderness was not a trivial matter, and it involved a lot of trivial problems. Fortunately, the Golden Core, Endless, and Transformative experts he brought along were originally from the Hidden Sword Peak, and the Hidden Sword Peak was the main peak of the Hidden Sword Sect. Many of them were peak masters, deputy sect masters, and even elders who were deputy sect masters. They were quite proficient in handling these matters, so he did not need to spend much effort. Therefore, he took advantage of this period of time to bring Duan Mutong to the Blazing Continent to see if he could buy a Golden Core Realm alchemy puppet. The atmosphere in this city is a little strange. Sing Hui walked in Gold Melting City, looking at the passers-by. This is because of the Blazing Continent's special location. Duan Mutong whispered. Duan Mutong said in a small voice, "Actually, the Blazing Continent has another name, the Smuggling Continent." It was a smuggling hub that specialized in smuggling many specialties from the Meteorite Continent. Aside from alchemy puppets, the Meteorite Continent is also famous for its divine weapons. Because a special meteorite has been fused into the Meteorite Continent, the continent's alchemy industry is very developed. It attracts master artificers from all over the world, and the divine weapons produced are very high grade. Some apprentices of these master artificers will take risks and steal the divine weapons forged by these master artificers for profit and sell them on the Blazing Continent. Because these items are of dubious origin, the major forces of the Meteorite Continent will sweep through the Blazing Continent from time to time. Sweep. Sing Hui was a little surprised. To put it simply, we're clearing the place. Aren't they afraid that no one will come to do business with the Meteorite Iron Continent? As long as their divine weapons and alchemy puppets are of high quality, they won't be able to find a suitable place to sell them. Besides, the alchemy puppets and divine weapons they steal are usually not of high quality. At best, they can only be used for true energy realm cultivators. This time, the situation is quite special. A group of true energy realm, transformative realm, endless realm, and golden core realm buyers are a group of true energy realm, transformative realm, endless realm, and golden core realm buyers. It doesn't matter if they offend the major forces of the meteorite iron continent. Every major sect has several almighty experts. Why would they be afraid of revenge from endless realm and golden core realm cultivators? Sing Hui nodded slightly when he heard this. But don't worry, Grand Elder. The force selling the alchemy puppets this time has a very strong background. It is said that they are vaguely related to an almighty expert of a major sect. If any major force wanted to clear the place, they would have received the news in advance and stopped the auction. Since the transaction is going on as usual, it means that the situation isn't too bad. We don't need to be too worried. Sing Hui nodded. He only came here to buy a few golden core realm alchemy puppets. He didn't want to get into trouble because of this. It wasn't because he was afraid, but because it wasn't necessary. The main goods on the blazing continent are for true energy realm cultivators to golden core realm cultivators. The number of almighty experts who come here to purchase is extremely small. However, many cities, including Rome Gold City, have many interesting items for sale from time to time. Unfortunately, it often requires some luck to come across these interesting items. Grand Elder Tsinghui, do you think we should rest in the hotel for a few days, or take advantage of the 3 days before the auction to walk around these cities? Duanmu Tong respectfully asked for instructions. Let's walk around. We still have time anyway. With that, Sing Hui began to walk around under Duanmu Tong's lead. Although Rome Gold City was a city, all the pedestrians in the city gave Sing Hui a sneaky feeling. Even when he occasionally entered some shops, the shopkeepers didn't appear too enthusiastic. Moreover, the decorations of the shops were mainly gloomy and dark. This phenomenon didn't only apply to 1 or 2 places, but the entire city. Moreover, in this city, he almost didn't see any particularly large landmark buildings. Most of the trading places were mobile palaces, battleships, flying boats, flying celestial devices, and tents. Moreover, the things sold were all kinds of strange things. No wonder Duanmu Tong said that if one wanted to buy something good here, one would need luck. Sing Hui looked around several main streets and didn't find any special treasures. In the end, he could only say, "Looks like this is a place where those who specialize in appraisal make a fortune." Duanmu Tong smiled and said, "Indeed, there are many sons of chaos with high appraisal skills who like to gather in this kind of city. This is because there are too many people coming and going in these cities, and the goods sold are basically illegal. From time to time, they can really find some treasures. I know several sons of chaos who specialize in this industry. Basically, they can earn several odilic auras every year. If they're lucky, they can get a real treasure and sell it for a dozen or even a few dozen odilic auras." In the end, he added, "Of course, this kind of thing is still very rare. Moreover, their business is quite dangerous. If the appraisal skill level isn't high enough and the appraisal information isn't complete, they'll still suffer a huge loss once they appraise something of extremely high grade but of little value. This kind of behavior is called eye-catching by their peers. If you really want to ensure that nothing goes wrong, you actually have to be accompanied by a rank 35 Son of Chaos." Sing Hui nodded. Unfortunately, he didn't spend much effort on the appraisal skill, nor did he intend to squander his chaos rank on it. However, rank 35 Son of Chaos? Deduction skill? It's the deduction skill. Ordinary people didn't know about the characteristics of a rank 35 chaos rank, but Duanmu Tong and Sing Hui were both at the Golden Core realm, so they had naturally heard of it. The combination of the deduction skill and appraisal skill is an excellent combination for discovering potential treasures. Using the deduction skill to deduce the approximate location and range of those treasures, and then using the appraisal skill to search for them one by one, it's always successful. Many ancient ruins that have been buried for who knows how many years are excavated using this method. Otherwise, How could these ancient caverns be so easily opened after so many years? However, there are only a few treasures that are truly circulating on the market. The probability of those rank 35 sons of chaos entering places like the financial city is still relatively small. Most of them join forces with some people with higher luck to search for ancient caverns. After all, although ancient caverns contain dangers, once they're unearthed, it also represents a great opportunity. Throughout history, it's not uncommon for cultivators to soar to the heavens because of the opportunities in ancient caverns. Using the deduction skill to search for ancient caverns. As expected, the wisdom of the masses is not to be underestimated. When Xinghui heard this, he smiled. However, after a moment, the smile on his face froze slightly. Wait a minute, using the deduction skill to search for ancient caverns. Ancient caverns? What he wanted to find the most now was the ancient god June's caverns. However, because his cultivation hadn't reached the vacuum-shattering realm, he thought that he was still far from finding the ancient god June's caverns, so he didn't associate this matter with the deduction skill at all. If he could use the deduction skill to deduce the location of the ancient god June's caverns, wouldn't he be able to return to Earth through the teleportation formation in the ancient god June's caverns? If he could return to Earth, he would be able to see his family, the people of his sect, and he didn't know how sad his parents would be when they learned that he had disappeared for more than 10 years. Thinking of this, Xinghui couldn't care less about the fact that he was still on the streets of Gold-Melting City. After recalling all the clues he had about the ancient god June in his mind, he quickly activated the deduction skill and began to deduce. As the deduction skill was activated, countless information flowed into his mind like streams of light: the power of Dongqian, the vacuum-shattering characteristic, the little information about the ancient god June. In the end, Xinghui frowned. Failed. His deduction skill had actually failed. All the information flowed into his mind like streams of light, but he didn't get any useful clues. At most, it helped him reorganize the information about the ancient god June's caverns so that he could remember the information more clearly. Other than that, there wasn't a single useful clue. I actually can't deduce the location of the ancient god June's caverns? Is it because the mysterious ancient god June's cultivation is too strong and he has concealed the secrets of heaven? Or is it because my deduction skill level is too low? As Xinghui thought to himself, he diverted a part of his attention into his personal space in the Chaos Temple and focused on the two main characteristics of the teleportation skill and the deduction skill. The teleportation skill could allow him to return to Earth, but the deduction skill, perhaps it had the same ability. Moreover, the deduction skill could not only allow him to find the ancient god June's caverns and teleport him back to Earth, but it was also very useful in the war against the chaos. It seemed that after the divine spell reached level 10, he would have to spend a few levels of chaos on the deduction skill to slightly increase its level. It would be best if it could reach level 5. After pausing for a moment, a new idea emerged in his mind. The deduction skill didn't deduce any information about the ancient god June. Then, can I deduce the location of the other two pieces of the Fortune Divine Jade? Chapter 5:31. The Fortune Divine Jade was the reason why Xinghui was able to reach where he was today. If it wasn't for the Fortune Divine Jade, he wouldn't have been able to reach the 51st level of chaos. According to the Fortune Divine Jade fragment he obtained from the Fortune mainland and the Fortune Divine Jade in his possession, there were 3 pieces of Fortune Divine Jade fragments, 1 big and 2 small. The Fortune Divine Jade he obtained from the Fortune mainland was only one of the smaller pieces of Fortune Divine Jade fragments. It could even be considered the smallest piece. If he could calculate 1 or 2 more pieces of Fortune Divine Jade fragments, even if it was just one of the smaller pieces, he estimated that the Fortune Divine Jade's ability to produce Tao ripples would increase by a notch. At that time, he might even be able to guarantee that he wouldn't have to worry about the amount of Tao ripples deducted every day after reaching the 60th level of chaos. Thinking of this, Xinghui didn't hesitate and started to calculate again. However, a moment later, the cooldown time of the deduction technique forced him to stop. The backtrack technique could retrace the state of his body, but it didn't include the special characteristics of the Son of Chaos. After using the incarnation technique, a large amount of the cultivator's essence, chi, and soul would be sucked away, resulting in severe weakness. It was as if a cultivator was severely injured or exhausted. The backtrack technique could resolve this weakness, but the cooldown time of a skill like the deduction technique was beyond the capabilities of the backtrack technique. 1 month. Sing Hui's gaze fell onto the deduction technique. The first level of deduction technique required him to wait for 1 month. After muttering to himself for a while, Sing Hui's gaze fell onto the many Dao-carrying items on him. He already had a lot of Dao-carrying items on him. Even if he didn't count the Dao-carrying items he needed to return to the Hidden Sword Venerable, he still had a total of 224 Dao-carrying items. Among these Dao-carrying items, 110 of them came from the Dust Cleansing Stone, while the remaining 114 came from the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce's fleet. In addition to these Taoist rhymes, he still had many Primal Chaos spells in his possession. If he sold these Primal Chaos spells, the Taoist rhymes he would obtain in the end would reach 200. In total, it would be enough for him to break through 400 usable Taoist rhymes. The price of one alchemy puppet is around 150 Taoist rhymes at most. Even if I want to buy 2 alchemy puppets, 300 Taoist rhymes is enough. Even if this is a private transaction, I don't need this number. Thinking about how important the Fortune Jade was to him, Sing Hui quickly shifted his gaze to his chaos level. As the chaos level became blurry, his chaos level rose from level 51 to level 52. After his chaos level increased, he did not choose to continue upgrading his divine art. Instead, he upgraded his deduction art to level 2. Compared to the improvement of his divine technique, he was more eager to return to Earth. It had been 10 years since he left Earth. 10 years. It had been too long. How many decades could there be in one's life? In 10 years, he had already turned from a youth to an uncle in his 30s. Senior sister Jiang Ningji was now 34 or 35 years old. As for his parents, without exception, they had climbed to the age of 50. Although because his parents paid attention to maintaining their health, 50 years old was not considered old, but when he thought about the pain that his disappearance would bring to his family, he didn't dare to think about it. He couldn't wait any longer. He really couldn't wait any longer. Buzz buzz. The level 1 deduction art became blurry, and in the next moment, it changed from level 1 to level 2. However, when Sing Hui saw the change in the characteristics of deduction art after it was upgraded to level 2, he was slightly stunned. There was no change. Compared to level 1 deduction art, the cooldown time of level 2 deduction art did not change at all. He carefully sensed it and found that the effects of deduction art had increased compared to level 1 deduction art. This result immediately calmed Sing Hui down. Not every characteristic's cooldown time will decrease as the level increases. Deduction art was a characteristic that was derived from level 35 chaos level. In the entire Divine Wilderness, there were no more than 20 people who had reached level 35 chaos level and could use deduction art. Among these 20 people, there were no more than 10 people who were willing to waste a chaos level on deduction art. And among these 10 people, there was no one who was willing to reach greater mastery in deduction art. After all, in order to upgrade deduction art to level 10, one had to reach level 44 chaos level, and in the entire Divine Wilderness, the number of people at level 44 chaos level could be counted with 2 hands. Therefore, he couldn't understand what kind of characteristics the deduction technique would give rise to when its level was high enough. The special characteristic of a rank 40 backtrack technique is too heaven-defying. Almost all those in the Divine Wilderness who have reached rank 44 in the Primal Chaos realm have chosen to invest their Primal Chaos realm into the backtrack technique, using it to gain unparalleled combat strength. Sing Hui gradually calmed himself down. Once he calmed down, he immediately realized that his thoughts were too simple. He had no less than 400 Taoist rhymes and assets, but those chaos spells had yet to be sold. There was still a process to turn them into Taoist items, and now there were only 2 days left before the black market auction. Looks like I have to use avatar art to make a trip to Heaven Wasteland. Fortunately, with deduction art, I don't have to worry about being weakened and affecting the auction 2 days later. Tsing Hui muttered to himself, and then said to Duan Mu Tong, "All right, let's go back." Duan Mu Tong responded respectfully. After returning to his residence, Tsing Hui instructed Duan Mu Tong to keep an eye on things, and then directly projected his consciousness into the Chaos Temple. When he arrived at the Chaos Temple, he did not immediately look for Gong Xing and the others to sell the Chaos spells. Instead, his figure flashed, and he went to the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. During the 2 years of seclusion in the Hidden Sword Peak, there was no movement in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. Therefore, ever since he came out of seclusion, he would take a look at the Chaos Treasure Pavilion every time he came to the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. If the Chaos Treasure Pavilion was refreshed, he could buy some things that were more convenient to sell, and then resell them. Usually, he could get hundreds or even hundreds of Taoist rhymes in profit. He naturally would not give up on such a profit. He thought that he would return empty-handed this time, but this time, when he saw the many treasures that appeared in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, a faint smile appeared on his face. "It's finally updated." After saying that, his gaze quickly turned to look at the frozen walls. In the first frozen wall, Primordial Spirit Qi, it was still 10 portions of Primordial Spirit Qi. If he sold it, he could get an extra 100 Taoist rhymes in profit. The Heavenly Cave Stone in the second frozen wall? Coincidentally, if he was forced to use the teleportation skill to escape, even if he fell into the space crack, he could use the power of the Heavenly Cave Stone to break through the void and escape back to the Divine Wilderness. However, there were 3 Heavenly Cave Stones, which was a little troublesome. He only needed one. 3 Heavenly Cave Stones, if calculated at 50 Taoist rhymes per stone, was a total of 150 Taoist rhymes. In the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, there was no such thing as selling them separately. He could either not buy them or buy them all. After a while, Tsing Hui looked at the third frozen wall. When Tsing Hui saw the items in the third frozen wall and their prices, he was slightly stunned. The Golden Crow's Inner Elixir. The Golden Crow's Inner Elixir at the Divine Stage was a special existence that condensed almost 1/3 of the pure energy in the Divine Stage Golden Crow's body. The energy contained in the Inner Elixir was a level higher than the Great Sun Core. However, as the Golden Crow's Inner Elixir did not have the ability to reignite and evolve into a Great Sun Core, its price was only 100 Taoist rhymes, which was equivalent to 1/3 of the Great Sun Core. However, 1 Golden Crow's Inner Elixir was not enough to distract Tsing Hui. What really attracted his attention was the number of Golden Crow's Inner Elixirs. 10 Inner Elixirs. 10 Golden Crow's Inner Elixirs. The total price was 1,000 Taoist rhymes. Phew! Tsing Hui slowly let out a sigh of relief. A treasure with 1,000 Taoist rhymes was the most valuable item he had ever seen in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. It was especially so for a treasure like the Golden Crow's Inner Elixir, which was the most sought-after resource-type treasure. One had to know that Divine Beast's Soul Essence, Divine Beast's Blood Essence, and even Divine Beast's Blood Essence were usually the best items to sell. That was because if cultivators wanted to quickly cultivate and strengthen themselves, they had to use this type of treasure. Take the Golden Crow's golden elixirs in front of Tsing Hui as an example. If he bought them for 100 Taoist rhymes each, it would not be difficult to sell them for 150 or even 160 Taoist rhymes. In other words, just the 1,000 Golden Crow's Inner Elixirs in front of him were enough for him to gain 500 to 600 Taoist rhymes. I have to think of a way to get these 10 Golden Crow's Inner Elixirs, and I have to do it as soon as possible. Otherwise, with the uncertainty of the items in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, I might just miss these 10 Golden Crow's Inner Elixirs in a few months. Tsing Hui thought to himself. He did not intend to sell these Golden Crow's Inner Elixirs. Instead, he planned to smelt them into the Deep Scarlet Sword. Once the Deep Scarlet Sword smelted these 10 Divine Stage Inner Elixirs, the peerless golden elixir contained within would definitely be nurtured to perfection. At that time, he could even consider deriving a divine power to break through to the supreme divine power realm and become a true Almighty. He would not be like now, where he had the title of Almighty but was only in the golden elixir realm. His gaze shifted slightly, and Qing Su looked towards the fourth wall of ice again. Mo's divine stone, an extremely hard metal. Chaos blood, the blood of the divine beast, chaos. 10 dust crystals, which could be used to forge a dust-flying boat. Substitute stone, which could be used to die once in a life-and-death situation. Sing Hui's gaze lingered on this treasure for a moment. The dust crystal was probably a higher quality dust crystal and was priced at 300 Taoist rhymes. Sing Hui did not intend to take the risk before he knew its specific effects. However, he could buy the substitute stone and sell it. He would probably be able to obtain an additional profit of tens of Taoist rhymes. Then he continued to look at them one by one. It had to be said that when the chaos level reached the 45th level, when the number of new items reached 30, there were indeed a lot more items. In addition, he also discovered a special phenomenon or a hidden change. The items in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion were easy to stack. That was, there would be 3 or even 10 items of the same category appearing at once. This change might bring about an increase in the number of finished products. However, from the perspective of the Chaos Treasure Pavilion's brand, the final profit would be greater than the expenditure. Just like the many items in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion before him, Sing Hui discovered that there were 9 treasures that could be resold. These 9 treasures would bring him close to 400 Taoist rhymes after being resold. Let's continue. Qingfen will try his best to increase the quantity while maintaining the quality. Chapter 5:32. At present, I have limited Taoist rhymes on me. Even if I just buy these things that can be sold, I still need to spend nearly 800 Taoist rhymes. Sing Hui was now left with only 124 Taoist rhymes, which was far from the 800 Taoist rhymes. After a moment, his gaze fell on the Taoist rhymes that he obtained from the Hidden Sword sect again. Other than the 88 Taoist rhymes that Zhou Zuanyu had given him, many other Taoist rhymes had also been given to him by the other peak masters who had confessed to him. This was to compensate him for offending the interests of the Hidden Sword sect. All these Taoist rhymes added up to a total of 244. I'll use these Taoist rhymes for the time being. It won't be too late to resell them when I have a certain amount of capital. Sing Hui thought to himself. He activated the backtracking technique and then contacted Gong Xing, asking him to prepare. Not long after, an incarnation had already traveled through the void and landed in the branch of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce where Gong Xing was. Senior, you haven't been here for a while. Seeing Sing Hui, Gong Xing was as enthusiastic as ever. Well, I've already explained the purpose of my visit to you in the Chaos Temple. How are your preparations? Senior, the transaction this time is too large. I can't make a decision right away. Please forgive me, but one of our presidents happens to be nearby. He's on his way here as fast as he can. He'll be here in less than an hour. Sing Hui responded, in addition to selling these things this time, I've also contacted an old friend. He also has something to sell. It'll probably be in 10 days or half a month. I'll contact you then. Senior's friend? Then the things he'll take out must be extraordinary treasures. We'll wait and see. When the time comes, we'll definitely give Senior a satisfactory price. Sing Hui nodded. Naturally, we'll have to discuss the price properly. I'll tell you what my old friend intends to sell. You can quote the price. Sing Hui said and reported the products of the Chaos Treasure Pavilion that he intended to sell when he had the funds. Gong Xing listened and asked for a moment. He quickly ordered someone to calculate the price. Soon he received a response. Senior, the total value of the things you and your friend are selling is 942 Taoist rhymes. The things you're selling are worth 433 Taoist rhymes, and the things your friend is selling are worth 509 Taoist rhymes. After hearing this number, Gong Xing was shocked. This was a transaction worth nearly 1,000 Taoist rhymes. Ever since he became the branch president of the Milky Way Chamber of Commerce, he had never been involved in such a large transaction. Once this transaction was completed, it would not be difficult for him to be promoted to vice president of the main guild. 942 Taoist rhymes? Qing Su nodded. It was around the same price as he had estimated. When he sold Taoist rhymes with Taoist rhymes. How much are you offering for the chaos spells? We've already verified the chaos spells. We can buy them all for 210 Taoist rhymes. Okay, 210 then. Xing Hui nodded, then smiled and said, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce isn't a small force. It has the support of the Myriad Star Sect. You should be able to take out such a number of Taoist rhymes. Senior, please rest assured. Even if our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce can't take out such a number, we'll find a way to collect all these Taoist rhymes for you. After Gong Xing finished speaking, he cautiously said, Senior, do you have any plans to invest in these Taoist rhymes? If Senior is willing to give us these Taoist rhymes worth of 1,152 Taoist rhymes, our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is willing to pay Senior an additional income of 11 Taoist rhymes a year. An additional income of 11 Taoist rhymes a year? Xing Hui looked at Gong Xing. He didn't expect the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to have such a business. However, he eventually shook his head and said, these Taoist rhymes don't belong to me. I can only use less than half of them. Moreover, I have a treasure waiting to buy. This treasure still has a gap of 200 to 300 Taoist rhymes. I have to find a way to fill this gap as soon as possible. A gap of 200 to 300 Taoist rhymes. Gong Xing's heart trembled. This number was almost unimaginable for him. It was like an upper-class white-collar worker with a net worth of less than 10 million hearing about a gap of hundreds of millions. He would naturally be frightened. However, after a while, he seemed to have thought of something and said, Senior, if Senior trusts our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, we can provide some help. Provide some help? Xing Hui was a little surprised. You can provide me with a loan of 200 to 300 Taoist rhymes? Yes, the total amount of business transactions between Senior and our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has long exceeded 1,000 Taoist rhymes. You can be considered one of our top customers. If Senior is willing to take out a valuable item as collateral, I can find a way to apply to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce for a loan of 200 to 300 Taoist rhymes worth of Taoist rhymes. Of course, during the repayment period, Senior will still need to pay some Taoist rhymes as interest. Please forgive me. Oh, what does the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce need as collateral? If Senior is willing, why don't you use the level 12 divine weapon, the light condensing sword, that esteemed Zhu Zhao gave you? The light condensing sword itself is not cheap. In addition, it has a special meaning. If you use it as collateral, and with Senior's good reputation in our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, we should be able to provide you with 200 to 300 Taoist rhymes worth of Taoist rhymes. Light condensing sword. The last time Xing Hui's original body went to Heaven Dome, Xing Hui had already planned to return the light condensing sword to esteemed Zhu Zhao. However, at that time, esteemed Zhu Zhao had just heard that the broken sword had betrayed Heaven Dome. He was so shocked that he left midway that Xing Hui could not find a chance to talk to him about returning the light condensing sword. As for mortgaging the light condensing sword to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, Xing Hui shook his head. The light condensing sword is something I borrowed from esteemed Zhu Zhao. I can't use it as collateral. In that case, that's difficult. After all, it's an item of 200 to 300 Taoist rhymes worth of Taoist rhymes. This number is equivalent to more than half of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce's working capital. If Senior had not just made a big deal with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to submit the application for this number of Taoist rhymes. Xing Hui looked at Gong Xing, considering the uncertainty of the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. If the Chaos Treasure Pavilion really refreshed the 10 Golden Crow's inner elixirs that were enough to make his perfected gold core disappear, he would definitely regret it. I can't use the light condensing sword as collateral, but I still have a level 12 flying sword. I'm willing to use this flying sword as collateral to borrow an item of 300 Taoist rhymes worth of Taoist rhymes from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce or the Myriad Star Sect. A level 12 flying sword? Gong Xing's eyes lit up when he heard this. A level 12 flying sword would cost at least 1,000 Taoist rhymes if a cultivator with no background wanted to purchase it. Of course, those who could set their sights on a level 12 flying sword were, without exception, people of high status. However, it was not easy for them to purchase a level 12 flying sword. Gong Xing was 90% sure that the higher-ups would approve Tsing Hui's offer to use a level 12 flying sword as collateral to borrow an item of 300 Taoist rhymes worth of Taoist rhymes from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Senior, if you can really take out a level 12 flying sword, you can count on me for the loan of 300 Taoist rhymes. Gong Xing made a solemn vow. Okay, I'll come again in half a month. I'll bring my level 12 flying sword then. Yes, I congratulate you, Senior, Gong Xing hurriedly said. At this time, a voice finally came from outside the Chamber of Commerce. Sorry, Senior Dong Yang, I've kept you waiting. While speaking, a figure had stepped into the room. It was the Vice President of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, who had a cultivation of the Gold Core realm. What happened next was naturally quite a smooth transaction. Not long after, Tsing Hui had sold all the treasures that he had bought with more than 300 Taoist rhymes to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Then, he only needed to wait for half a month before bringing the remaining treasures to complete the next round of transactions. At the same time, he took out the Sky Splitter as collateral to obtain a loan of 300 Taoist rhymes. Thinking of having to pawn the Sky Splitter, Tsing Hui sighed slightly in his heart. However, he had to do this for the 10 Golden Crow's internal elixirs. These 10 Golden Crow's internal elixirs were related to whether he could reach the perfected Gold Core realm in a short period of time. Once he reached the perfected Gold Core realm, he could use them to derive divine powers. Even if he did not derive divine powers, he could still reach the Sovereign Gold Core realm in one go by refining the Gold Core realm. The Sovereign Gold Core realm had the hope of condensing supreme divine powers, and there was a probability of deriving supreme divine powers even from the Sovereign Gold Core realm. Therefore, the sooner he reached the perfected Gold Core realm, the deeper his foundation would be, and the greater the chances of deriving supreme divine powers would be. He, who was rushing towards the supreme divine ability, had already reached the edge of the door. He absolutely would not allow himself to make any mistakes at such a crucial moment. The number of Taoist rhymes on me. I got 643 from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, plus the 16 Taoist rhymes I have left. I have a total of 659 Taoist rhymes. It's a pity that many of these Taoist rhymes belong to the Hidden Sword Venerable. Tsing Hui felt a little guilty about using these Taoist rhymes that belonged to the Hidden Sword Venerable, but he had no other choice at the moment. He could only think of ways to complete various commissions and obtain resources to make up for the debt owed by the Hidden Sword Sect and the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce as soon as possible. Right now, I don't even have enough Taoist items on me. Let's not even talk about buying a Golden Elixir Stage War puppet. As for the Qinglan Sect, let the Hidden Sword Sect have a few Golden Elixir Stage powerhouses there. Mobilize them for 10 or 8 years. As the Supreme Elder, I should have this right. Tsing Hui weighed the pros and cons in his mind and decided to end his trip to the Blazing Continent. However, after a slight hesitation, he dismissed the idea of leaving directly. Since he was already here, he might as well take a look at the treasures of the black market auction so that he could be mentally prepared the next time he came. Chapter 5:33. 2 days passed quickly. Under Duanmu Tong's lead, Tsing Hui quickly arrived at a cave on the outskirts of Rome Gold City. Although the cave was called a cave, it was actually equivalent to the entrance to an underground world. After entering the cave, Qing Su estimated that he had gone several dozen kilometers downwards at the very least. Only when the temperature in the surroundings had risen to around 60 degrees did he stop in a spacious cave. The cave was 200 to 300 meters in diameter and over 20 meters in height. It could easily accommodate over 1,000 people. At this time, this place had been artificially arranged into a simple temporary auction house. Other than a high platform, there were hundreds of seats around. At present, there were over 100 people present. Duanmu Tong and Tsing Hui's arrival in the hall attracted many people's attention. After sensing Duanmu Tong's aura that seemed to have merged into one, the minds of many people trembled slightly and they became rather cautious. However, due to the high standard of this auction, these people did not reveal anything because of the arrival of a Gold Core stage expert like Duanmu Tong. Elder, we can just find a place to sit down. When the auction starts, We can directly bid. Although the conditions here are simple and crude, we have no choice but to do so to ensure safety and foolproof. Duanmu Tong said softly beside Xing Hui. Xing Hui swept a glance around this spacious area and saw over 20 passages. Although these passages could not guarantee that everyone would escape in the same direction, at least in the event of an accident, the chances of survival would greatly increase. When will it start? The time is at noon. It should be soon. However, if there are any important guests who have not arrived, the auction will start slightly later. Duanmu Tong said. Xing Hui nodded and did not ask any more questions. Instead, he looked around at the people around him. Even though most of the goods on the blazing continent were targeted at those below the true energy realm, the goods that could be auctioned were clearly the best of the best. It wasn't strange for them to attract Eternal Realm and Golden Core Realm experts. Although most of the 100 or so people present were at the Transformative Realm and Eternal Realm, there were still 20 or so Golden Core Realm experts. Taking up 20% of the total, it could be considered extremely high. Moreover, many of the Golden Core Realm experts had an aura of age on them. They had clearly lived for a very long time. Even if these experts of the Gold Core Realm had not cultivated a high-grade gold core, they could often display a strength close to a high-grade gold core or even comparable to a high-grade Gold Core Realm expert by relying on the exquisite secret techniques and strange divine weapons they had mastered over countless years. All of them could not be underestimated. Especially because they had lived for a long time, their wealth was often extraordinary, and they could be called the core of the main force when purchasing many precious treasures. They are all ordinary Golden Core. Xing Hui's gaze withdrew from the 23 Golden Core Realm experts. Qing Su actually did not see a single high-grade Golden Core cultivator among the 23 Golden Core cultivators. The ratio was so low that it surprised him. Duanmu Tong could not help but laugh bitterly when he heard Xing Hui's words. The biggest difference between the Golden Core Realm and the Eternal Realm is lifespan. No matter how much attention an Eternal Realm expert takes and how much he nourishes his body, without consuming top spirit treasures of heaven and earth, his lifespan will not exceed 1,000 years. On average, Eternal Realm experts can only live for 300 to 400 years. As for Golden Core Realm experts, as long as they don't fall into a life or death crisis and crack their Golden Core, they can live for more than 1,000 years. Some Golden Core Realm experts who have never experienced life and death battles or whose foundation has not been damaged can easily live for 2,000 years. Those who are good at nourishing their body can even live up to 3,000 years. With this temptation, Eternal Realm experts will do everything they can to enter the Golden Core Realm, causing the number of Golden Core Realm experts to increase greatly. However, the amount of resources required to cultivate a high-grade Golden Core from an ordinary Golden Core Realm expert is too much, far exceeding the limit of a Golden Core Realm expert's wealth. Under such circumstances, less than 1 in 10 can cultivate a high-grade Golden Core. Less than 1 in 10. Less than 1 in 10, and that's only for large sects and top forces. If all the Golden Core Realm experts outside Tianhuang mainland are included, out of 200 Golden Core Realm experts, only 10 will be able to cultivate a high-grade Golden Core. And out of 10 high-grade Golden Core Realm experts, not even one will be able to condense a peerless Golden Core. As for the Sovereign Golden Core, at this point, Duanmu Tong shook his head. The Sovereign Golden Core. To the Golden Core Realm experts of these sects, it was a legendary existence. It must be known that even the most outstanding disciples of the Heaven Tao rarely dared to set the Sovereign Golden Core as their goal. Even the top 10 prodigies of the Heaven Tao currently mainly focused on cultivating a high-grade Golden Core. From this, one could see how difficult it was to attain the Sovereign Golden Core. Although Xing Hui had the intention to condense the Sovereign Golden Core, his cultivation during this period of time had already made him feel suffocated by the enormous amount of energy required to condense the Sovereign Golden Core. Because of this, he had already vaguely begun to consider the derivation of a remarkable power after perfecting his peerless Golden Core. Well, it's noon now, right? After waiting for nearly 2 hours, Xing Hui asked. Indeed, it's noon now. Duanmu Tong glanced at the platform, where the auctioneers had already prepared all the auction equipment, but it seemed that the auction was not about to begin. I guess some important person is coming, so we still need to wait for a while. Important people who can make the auctioneers wait are either the descendants of some powerful people, or they have powerful backing. Therefore, even though the time is up, the people present did not make much noise after understanding the details. Sing Hui nodded. Elder, do you think we should go and urge the auction house's people? With your status, milord, no need. Sing Hui waved his hand. Let's wait, there's no need to rush. If he had intended to purchase the alchemy puppets earlier, he would naturally have urged the auctioneers, but now he had become a spectator, urging the auctioneers to start the auction as soon as possible, but in the end he did not win a single item. It was a little awkward. Time passed, and another 4 hours passed. Many of the Golden Elixir Realm, Never-Ending Realm, and Transformative Realm experts were grumbling when a commotion suddenly sounded from the entrance of a cave. Then, a group of more than 10 people, led by a Golden Elixir Realm expert of the auctioneers, slowly walked in this direction. As this group of people arrived, they immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. However, as they sized up this group of people, the old man who was obviously the leader of the group suddenly had a stern look on his face. The next moment, a terrifying pressure that made people tremble suddenly spread out, attacking the minds of everyone present. The Golden Elixir Realm experts were better off, as only their golden elixirs were shaken, but the Never-Ending Realm and Transformative Realm experts' auras were directly shaken, causing their chi to become unstable. Some of the cultivators who relied on external forces to break through could not help but turn pale and almost vomit blood. Powerful person. It's a powerful person. It's actually a powerful person who came personally. No wonder the auctioneers wasted so much time waiting for his arrival. Powerful person? If this powerful person took a fancy to any treasure, who would be able to compete with him? Why did the people of Black Wind invite this powerful person here? A commotion broke out among the crowd, and each of them had different expressions. Grand Elder. Looking at this person's attire, he should be a powerful person from the Arclight continent, Duanmu Tong whispered from the side. Arclight continent. Sing Hui nodded. This was a medium-sized continent similar to the Hidden Sword continent. However, compared to the Hidden Sword continent, the Arclight continent's power and influence was clearly a notch higher. Although it was only a medium-sized continent, it had 3 almighty experts. These 3 almighty experts each supported a force, and were competing for the position of the overlord of the Arclight continent. This continent was roughly between the Meteorite Iron continent and the Hidden Sword continent. If Duanmu Tong frequently came to the Meteorite Iron continent, then passing by the Arclight continent, it was reasonable for him to recognize this almighty expert. Following the arrival of this powerful person, the auction gradually began. One after another, mystical alchemy puppets and divine weapons were quickly introduced by the people of Black Wind Auction. Then, under the bidding of the crowd, they were quickly sold off. This kind of auction was not as strict as Tsing Hui had imagined. Instead, it gave the impression of an assembly line. After the auction ended, the money was paid, and the items were taken away. It was as simple as that. There was no confidentiality, no security, none of that. Moreover, the whole auction process could be said to be extremely fast. Basically, after an item was sold, it would immediately move on to the next item. In less than 2 hours, 19 items had been sold. After 19 auction items, it was finally the turn of a Gold Core Realm alchemy puppet for the 20th item. After this alchemy puppet was taken out, it naturally attracted the attention of many people, and the price quickly rushed to 120 Taoist rhymes. Seeing that Sing Hui was indifferent, Duanmu Tong could not help but remind him, Supreme Elder, do you need to make a move on this alchemy puppet? According to the information I received, the Black Wind auction this time did not take out 3 Golden Core Realm alchemy puppets, but only 2. It is said that after one of them was stolen, it was discovered by the people of the Arcane Church. The Arcane Church dispatched an almighty to kill the disciple who stole the alchemy puppet, and took back the Golden Core Realm alchemy puppet. With only 2 Golden Core Realm alchemy puppets left, The competition will be much more intense. I'm afraid the final price of the second one will be higher than this one. After hearing that, Xing shook his head slightly. I have the intention to buy this alchemy puppet, but some unforeseen events happened a few days ago, and the Taoist rhymes are scarce. I have the heart but not the strength. I'll just treat this trip as watching a show. After hearing that, Duanmu Tong did not say anything else. Soon, the Golden Core Realm alchemy puppet was sold out. In the end, it fell into the hands of a middle-aged Golden Core Realm man at the price of 134 Taoist rhymes. After obtaining this Golden Core Realm alchemy puppet, the middle-aged Golden Core Realm man did not leave. Instead, he continued to wait. It was as if he wanted to buy the second alchemy puppet as well. This person seems to have a lot of wealth. Xing Hui's gaze fell on the middle-aged Golden Core Realm man. Not only him, but many people were also secretly sizing up this middle-aged man. Obviously, some other thoughts had arisen in their hearts. Chapter 5:34. The middle-aged man had clearly noticed the ill intent of the people in the surroundings, and he immediately stood up and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, I'm Mu Xingping, and I'm here on behalf of Saint Goldfeather. I've specially purchased a Golden Core Realm puppet for Saint Goldfeather to bestow upon his 2 juniors to protect them. I hope that everyone can make things convenient for us." Saint Goldenfeather? He's actually a disciple of Saint Goldenfeather. Saint Goldenfeather's divine ability is extremely domineering and murderous. It's said that in terms of pure lethality, it can almost be ranked in the top 10 among the divine abilities. With the power of his divine ability, Saint Goldenfeather has killed countless experts and conquered countless countries. It's said that he has even killed 3 almighties. Such an almighty is definitely the most terrifying existence among the many almighties. If we really offend Saint Goldenfeather, I'm afraid we won't be able to move an inch in the dozens of continents within a radius of tens of millions of kilometers. I have some thoughts about the alchemy puppets purchased by others, but Saint Goldenfeather, I really don't have the guts. Saint Goldenfeather's methods are ruthless. Once targeted by him, it's almost certain death. I don't dare to offend him, I don't dare to offend him. As the middle-aged man, Mu Xingping, reported his background, the crowd immediately burst into a discussion. Beside him, a man and a woman who were also at the Golden Core Realm stood up and guarded him. If the crowd really wanted to take the Golden Core alchemy puppet in his possession, not only would they have to risk offending a domineering and ruthless almighty, they would also have to face 3 Golden Core Realm experts at the same time. Such a consequence immediately made many people dispel their thoughts. I didn't expect you to be one of Saint Goldenfeather's people. I'm Xingwang from the Arc-Light mainland. I've conversed with Saint Goldenfeather back then, and I admire Saint Goldenfeather quite a bit. I wonder how Saint Goldenfeather has been during this period of time? At this moment, the Almighty from the Arc-Light mainland, who had not spoken since he arrived, turned around and took the initiative to speak to Mu Xingping. Clearly, his words carried a trace of the intention to befriend Saint Goldenfeather. So it's Saint Xingwang. Saint Goldenfeather has recently been in seclusion studying the various changes of his divine ability. With his core divine ability as the core, he has already derived a few lesser divine abilities. Their might not be comparable to his core divine ability, but they have the ability to threaten ordinary almighties. Mu Xingping said solemnly, "I've heard of the might of Saint Goldenfeather's divine ability for a long time. The divine ability derived from his core divine ability must be extremely powerful. If there's a chance, I'd like to see it for myself," Saint Senior Ingguang said with a smile. "I'm sure Sovereign Goldenfeather would be happy if Senior were to go," Mu Xingping hurriedly said. Saint Master Ingguang nodded and said, "Don't worry. As long as you bid for something with your own financial resources, I can guarantee you that no one will be able to take it away from you." Hearing this, Mu Xingping was overjoyed. "Thank you, Holy Master Ingguang." Although he relied on the name of Saint Goldenfeather to intimidate everyone present, these cultivators often came from all over the world. If they really disregarded the name of Saint Goldenfeather and killed them for their treasures, and then hid in the vast sea or heaven wasteland world, it would not be easy for Saint Goldenfeather to find them. Now, with the almighty Saint Shining Light personally promising to guarantee their safety, they could be said to be truly worry-free. I didn't expect him to be one of Saint Goldenfeather's men. No wonder he's so confident. Duan Mu Tong, who was at the side, took a deep breath and asked, "This Saint Goldenfeather is very famous. However, although the continent that Saint Goldenfeather occupies is a medium-sized continent, the production of Dao aura is not high. In a year, it is estimated that there are less than 50 of them. Back then, the annual production of our Hidden Sword continent was 3 times that of his Black Gold continent, which aroused his greed. He specially went to our Hidden Sword continent in the name of visiting. However, he did not gain any advantage in a probing battle with Hidden Sword Saint, so he had to retreat regretfully. If Great Elder Tsing Hui carefully investigated the Golden Sword sect of the Hidden Sword continent, you will be able to see that the Black Gold continent is behind this first-class sect that has developed extremely rapidly in the past 10 years. He also had designs on the Hidden Sword continent? When Tsing Hui heard this, his eyes turned slightly cold. He could not help but squint his eyes as he looked at Mu Xingping. The auction continued in an orderly manner. Very soon, the 30th item had already been auctioned. Shockingly, the 30th item was another Gold Core Realm alchemy puppet. After a round of bargaining, this alchemy puppet was purchased by Mu Xingping at a price of 2 Dao rhymes, which was cheaper than the previous one. When Tsing Hui saw this, his thoughts became clearer. As time passed, the auction gradually came to an end. As for the final item, it was a divine weapon that had reached the 12th level. Even though it was only a 12th level divine weapon, it still caused many Golden Core stage experts to continuously bid. Very quickly, the price had already been pushed to 180 Daoist rhymes. But at this moment, a Golden Core Realm guest suddenly stood up, turned around, and ran to the side of the cave. His sudden action startled everyone. Immediately after, the person in charge of the Black Wind auction house seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed slightly. He immediately gave an order to one of his subordinates, and the subordinate immediately took out a communication jade talisman. After a while, the subordinate's face turned pale as he shook his head at the Golden Core stage man in charge. "Damn it!" The man cursed and hurriedly said to a Golden Core Realm old man who was hosting the auction, "Put it away." Then he turned to the crowd and shouted, "Everyone, the situation has changed. There are experts from the meteoric iron continent surrounding us. Please leave through the passage as soon as possible." The man's words immediately caused a commotion in the crowd. Experts from the meteoric iron continent? Damn it. What's wrong with you Black Wind people? You can't even do such a simple thing. You even exposed the auction location. I won't choose Black Wind to auction anything in the future. For a time, many Golden Core Realm experts were cursing, but their speed was extremely fast. They all ran to the cave entrances in all directions. "Let's go," Tsing Hui whispered to Mu Xingping as he looked at the cave Mu Xingping was heading to. Then he quickly followed. However, before they could step into the same cave as Mu Xingping, Holy Senior Ingguang, who was traveling with Mu Xingping, had already shouted, "Get out. No one is allowed to enter this passage. Violators will die." As he shouted, he waved his sleeve. A mighty and majestic force swept out from the cave, which made Duan Mu Tong's expression change. "How dare you!" Duan Mu Tong shouted and suddenly stepped forward. The genuine core strength in his body burst out, and he slashed out with his sword. The force of Holy Senior Ingguang's wave was immediately torn apart by his sword. "How dare you! You're courting death!" Holy Senior Ingguang's expression darkened. When she was about to take action, a series of roars came from several caves, accompanied by screams. Not only the other caves, but there was also a series of screams in front of them. Obviously, someone was coming in this direction. "I'd like to see who dares to stop me from leaving." Holy Senior Ingguang shouted and ignored Tsing Hui and Duan Mu Tong. She took the lead and rushed into the cave. Soon, she fought with the cultivators who came in from the outside. Along with violent vibrations and roars, The blocked passage in front seemed to be torn apart. Supreme Elder, Ingguang really doesn't take you seriously. Duan Mu Tong followed behind and said with anger on his face. It doesn't matter. The show has just begun. Sing Hui said indifferently. Although he had the combat strength of an almighty, he was too biased and his defense was insufficient. This made it difficult for him to exert his combat strength under special circumstances. For example, in this underground space, if he was surrounded by more than a dozen Gold Core Realm experts and restrained by Holy Senior Ingguang, an almighty, it would be troublesome. However, if he came out of the underground with the rank 12 flying sword, sky-splitting sword, even if Mu Xingping had the protection of Holy Senior Ingguang, he could only die. Sing Hui and Duan Mu Tong followed behind Holy Senior Ingguang and Mu Xingping and rushed out of the underground space. As soon as they came out of the underground space, a mighty energy fluctuation suddenly exploded from the void above their heads. It was accompanied by a majestic shout, "Ingguang, how dare you attack me? Do you believe that the 3 holy seniors of Arcane Sect will come to your Arc Light mainland and uproot your Holy Light Sect? Hi, your Arcane Sect and Divine Smelting Sect are locked in a fierce battle during this period. How can you spare some men to go to our Arc Light mainland? You'd better let us leave. I don't want to be enemies with your Arcane Sect. If you continue to be aggressive, don't blame me for forming an alliance with Divine Smelting Sect after I've pacified the situation in Arc Light mainland. I'd like to see how your Arcane Sect will deal with then." "Huh? If your Holy Light Sect wants to pacify the Arc Light mainland, you'll have to see whether the other 2 forces agree or not." "Discipline King Lumiao, just tell me, will you let me leave? I can let you go, but you'll have to hand over all the things that belong to our Arcane Sect. We bought these things from Black Wind Auction. If you want them, you can ask for them directly from Black Wind Auction. In addition, I don't mind telling you that His Excellency Mu Xingping represents Holy Senior Golden Feather of Black Gold Mainland. Your Arcane Sect had better think carefully. Is it worth offending Holy Senior Golden Feather for a few alchemy puppets? Holy Senior Golden Feather?" Discipline King Luomiao's voice was a little hesitant. But in just a moment, it turned into a cold snort. "Our Arcane Sect doesn't care if Holy Senior Golden Feather flaunts his power in Black Gold Mainland. But if he wants to be presumptuous in our Meteoric Iron Mainland, we'll teach him the difference between a large mainland and a medium mainland. Put down the things and you can leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." "Is that so? Then I'll have a taste of Discipline King Luomiao's skills. Mu Xingping, you guys leave first." Holy Senior Ingguang's voice sounded. Soon, violent battle waves spread out from the void and swept across all directions. "Looks like I don't have to do anything." Sing Hui, who had followed the group out of the cave, glanced at the 2 powerful people fighting in the void and muttered. Then, his gaze fell on Mu Xingping, who was escaping rapidly. "Follow them." Chapter 5:35. Mu Xingping's side had 3 Golden Core experts. When Holy Reverend Ingguang fought with Holy Reverend Luomiao, she had also sent the experts she brought with her to Mu Xingping. This caused the number of Golden Core experts on Mu Xingping's side to reach 8. In addition to the 6 Eternal Realm experts, their lineup was definitely the strongest among the fleeing groups. Even if they occasionally encountered the Arcane Sect's group, they would easily break out of the encirclement. The Arcane Sect's people are chasing after the Black Wind Auction House's people. From the looks of it, the Arcane Sect's true target is the people from the Black Wind Auction House. Perhaps they've already obtained detailed information about the Black Wind Auction House's auction this time. However, they chose to keep a low profile because they coveted the numerous Dao-carrying treasures from this auction. They waited until the auction was completely over before erupting in one fell swoop to capture the Black Wind Auction House and even all of us in one fell swoop. It's even possible that the 2 Golden Core alchemy puppets were intentionally released by them. Their goal is to attract more wealthy buyers to appear. Most likely, the Arcane Arts Sect has been getting more and more rampant recently. While fleeing, Mu Xingping and the others continuously calculated and quickly found the truth. At the same time, they were shocked and angry at the Black Wind auction house's incompetence for implicating them. The weakest among them was at the Eternal Realm. Naturally, their speed was extremely fast as they fled at full speed. Not long after, they had already flown out of the blazing continent that was less than 10,000 kilometers in diameter and stepped into the vast coastline. As the arcane sects almighty in charge of this direction had been intercepted by Holy Reverend Ing Guang, the arcane sects experts temporarily stopped their pursuit when they realized that they could not stop them. It was unknown whether they were setting up a new line of defense or for some other reason. However, Mu Xingping and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they no longer had any pursuers behind them. We should be considered to have escaped. With the faces of Holy Reverend Golden Feather and Holy Reverend Ing Guang, even if the arcane sect wants to kill us out of respect, they won't dare to truly kill us. Mu Xingping panted slightly. Mr. Mu, although we've shaken off the arcane sect's people, there are still 2 little bugs following behind us. Holy Reverend Ing Guang's Golden Core Realm disciple, Han Tan, sneered. Is it them? Mu Xingping's gaze swept over Tsing Hui and Duan Mutong, who had followed closely behind, his eyes faintly cold. A Golden Core Realm, and another whose aura is similar to a Golden Core, but it's not clear, as if he's carrying the aftereffects of cracking his Golden Core. They actually dared to chase after us. Previously, we had to evade the arcane sect's pursuit and didn't have much time to deal with them. Who would have thought that they would become addicted to following us? It just so happens that when we were dealing with the arcane sect's pursuers earlier, we were constantly worried that they would have more experts as reinforcements, so we didn't kill them to our heart's content. Why don't we make an example out of these 2 people? Who knows, we might even be able to recover some of the Taoist rhymes we lost from auctioning off the 2 gold core puppets? That's exactly what I was thinking. Cultivators of the Golden Core Realm are usually quite wealthy. They should have more than 10 Taoist rhymes. Han Tan smiled and said, swish. As their group came to a stop, Tsing Hui and Duan Mutong quickly caught up with them, and the 2 parties immediately met. All right, you guys completely relied on our help to escape from the arcane sect's encirclement. Since you've taken advantage of us so much, we can't let it go so easily. A life-saving grace should be repaid with one's life. We, on the other hand, are merciful and don't need you to do that. Just hand over all your treasures, Taoist items, and your primal chaos spells. Mu Xingping and the rest quickly stepped forward and surrounded Tsing Hui and Duan Mutong in the middle as they sneered. You want our treasures, Taoist items, and primal chaos spells? Tsing Hui looked at Mu Xingping and the rest in front of him, and a faint smile appeared on his face. You guys really have the same thoughts as us. Since you've already said it, then let's not waste any more time. 2 Golden Core Realm alchemy puppets, hand over all your primal chaos spells, and we can spare your lives. We'll treat it as an offense from your Black Gold continent to us back then. Otherwise, you guys really don't know what you're talking about. Hidden Sword Continent? Your Hidden Sword Continent can't even protect yourselves, and you actually dare to be so arrogant in front of me? I remember that the Hidden Sword Venerable of the Hidden Sword Continent is about to die of old age. The Hidden Sword Venerable almost died of old age because of the great Golden Feather Saint. If not for the Golden Feather Saint severely injuring him back then, your Hidden Sword Sect's Hidden Sword Venerable would have been able to live for a few more decades. But now, Kiske. Speaking of this, Mu Xingping shook his head regretfully. The Sacred Master has always been concerned about this matter, and even came up with a plan to kill your Hidden Sword Sect a year ago. The Golden Sword Sect is our Black Gold Continent's frontline battle. If not for the Sacred Master's enlightenment 2 years ago, and the inspiration to create a small ability, your entire Hidden Sword Continent would have been covered in blood and corpses. Now that we haven't come looking for you, and you've actually delivered yourselves to us, we'll send you on your way. Black Gold Continent? Although it's just an ordinary mid-sized continent that produces 50 Taoist rhymes a year, but after this matter is settled, I will personally make a trip to the Black Gold Continent. I want to see if the Golden Feather Saint is as powerful as the rumors say. Tsing Hui said indifferently. Seeing Tsing Hui's indifferent expression, Mu Xingping's eyes shot out a piercing killing intent. He shouted sternly, "How dare you! The name of the Golden Feather Saint is not something you can say." Clang! Before Mu Shengping could finish, Xing Hui had already drawn his sword. When the Scarlet Abyss sword appeared, it was as if a resplendent sun had suddenly jumped out of the sea. Endless radiance and heat waves erupted the moment the divine sword was unsheathed, blooming in all directions. Then, with a brilliant sword intent, it directly pressed down on Mu Shengping's position. Before the sword arrived, the blazing brilliance contained within the sword light and sword intent already seemed to want to incinerate the void. This is... Mu Shengping, who was originally furious, suddenly widened his eyes. In his spiritual world, there seemed to be a huge sword burning with the grand sun true fire that was as huge as a star. It carried with it an unparalleled pressure that could shatter heaven and earth as it ruthlessly slashed into his spiritual world. The blazing and terrifying impact caused him to scream in pain. His entire spiritual world seemed to be shattered by this sword light. What kind of sword technique is this? Amidst his shrill screams, the deep scarlet sword's sword light directly crushed Mu Shengping's body. The vast and invincible power instantly crushed his divine body into pieces. While the endless sword light pierced through his limbs, it also penetrated further into his body and ruthlessly slashed his golden core. With a soft sound that did not seem to exist, the power of the golden core of this veteran golden core cultivator, who had been in the golden core realm for hundreds of years, was completely shattered by Xing Hui's sword qi. The vast and mighty power poured out from the wound on his body. It was as if a person had exploded and shot out millions of rays of golden light. It was extremely tragic. "Take him down," Xing Hui ordered. The two golden core realm alchemy puppets were in Mu Shengping's hands. Naturally, he would not kill him with one strike. After instructing Duanmu Tong, Xing Hui's gaze turned again. Then, the deep scarlet sword's sword light slashed down again. The sword intent that seemed to be able to burn one's spiritual world and shatter one's will once again followed the deep scarlet sword's sword light and illuminated the heavens. Remarkable power! Remarkable power! This is a remarkable power! A golden core realm cultivator was crippled in one strike. No matter how slow Han Tan and the others reacted, they were shocked awake at this moment. In an instant, they all screamed in despair and fear. "Almighty! It's an almighty! He's an almighty! Run quickly!" They had no will to fight. They had no courage. After witnessing Xing Hui's remarkable power with their own eyes, the remaining 7 golden core realm cultivators and 6 never-ending realm cultivators all screamed in fear and retreated frantically. 3 of them even emitted the aura of divine arts. Unfortunately, Xing Hui did not intend to let them off. The resplendent sword light suppressed the world like a blazing sun, releasing endless light. Wherever the sword light went, there was no difference whether it was a golden core realm cultivator or a never-ending realm cultivator. They exploded in midair, just like shooting eggs with a heavy sniper rifle. Those cultivators who did not emit the aura of divine arts were shot directly and died on the spot. As for the 3 golden core realm cultivators who had emitted the aura of divine arts, Xing Hui deliberately released his sword intent at the same time as the sword qi heavily injured them. The terrifying sword intent that was close to level 120 exploded with a loud bang, shaking their spiritual worlds to the brink of collapse. In such a state of mind, not to mention sensing the Chaos Shrine, it could be said that they were extremely resilient to maintain their consciousness. Amidst the miserable screams, the aura of the 3 golden core realm cultivators with divine arts plummeted, and they fell to the ground. Swish! Xing Hui leaped and instantly captured the 3 golden core realm cultivators. Then, together with Duanmu Tong, he flew towards a small island not far away. After landing on the island, he directly threw them to the ground. "Alright, I will repeat what I said just now. Hand over all the Dao-carrying items, alchemy puppets, and primal chaos spells in your personal storage, and you can keep your lives. I will do as I say, otherwise..." At this point, Xing Hui's gaze turned to Duanmu Tong. Duanmu Tong immediately said tactfully, "Grand Elder, please rest assured. I am quite proficient in torture methods. I guarantee that they will tell you everything they know. Very good. Xing Hui's gaze landed on Mu Xingping. At the same time, Duanmu Tong also said in a timely manner, the few of you should think clearly. Be it primal chaos spells or alchemy puppets, these are all worldly possessions. No matter how good they are, if you lose your lives, what will you use to enjoy them? All of you are golden core realm cultivators with lifespans of thousands of years. If you die in vain like this, it will be such a pity. On the other hand, as long as you can live, then there is hope for everything. Even if you lose something, there is hope for you to take it back in the future. Isn't that so? Mu Xingping, Han Tan, and the others were all trembling in fear. They were very clear about the consequences of being captured alive and falling into the hands of a cultivator who was proficient in torture. Without waiting for Duanmu Tong to continue speaking, they had already surrendered. I will hand it over. I will hand it over. I will give you whatever you want, as long as you are willing to let us live. Chapter 5:36. Among the 4 chaos spells, the one with the highest level is already at level 20. In addition, there are 2 Golden Core Realm alchemy puppets and 34 Taoist rhyme items. Xing Hui was quite satisfied. He did not expect Mu Xingping to have a level of chaos as high as level 20. With this level of chaos, he would be able to earn at least 100 Taoist rhyme. With a little manipulation, the final price would definitely be higher than the lowest. It should be said that the 20th to 25th order of the chaotic order often represented the level of great experts. The Jindan realm cultivators of Tianhuang Wasteland who possessed the chaotic order belonged to the 15th to 20th order of the chaotic order. In addition, many experts of the Jindan realm were deprived of their chaotic order due to grudges and battles between the chaos and other reasons. They had to rely on some low-level chaos techniques to rebuild their chaotic order. Therefore, on average, this value had to be lowered again. It was normal for them to be around the 10th order. Similar to Mu Xingping's situation, it was probably the concept of splitting the income between a person with an annual income of 100,000 and a person with an annual income of 190,000 and a person with an annual income of 10,000. This kind of profit is indeed the fastest, but, because of this, I have offended a powerful figure. No, 2 powerful figures. Of course, if they want to take revenge, they have to know that I am the one who did it. Xing Hui vaguely understood why so many cultivators like to plunder and invade other continents. The profit was too great. In order to prevent Holy Sage Yingguang from catching up, Xing Hui did not waste any more time. He directly sensed the location of the body that was used as a coordinate in Eastern Wilderness. Then he activated the backtracking technique in advance. His figure flashed, and he had already traveled through the void and appeared in Eastern Wilderness. When he arrived at the wonderful mountain range in Eastern Wilderness, Xing Hui quickly summoned Nayland Fei from Qinglan Peak. Then he took out the 2 Golden Core Realm alchemy puppets. These 2 alchemy puppets are for you to control. One of them is used to suppress the resistance of the sect, and the other one is for you to carry with you at all times to protect yourself. A Golden Core Stage alchemy puppet? Nayland Fei looked at the 2 3-meter-tall metal machines in front of her, and her eyes were filled with curiosity. Golden Core Realm alchemy puppets are expensive, and even almighty beings might not be willing to buy them. My master actually doesn't have such a treasure. This means that my treatment will surpass my master's. Xing Hui smiled. Back then, Reverend Zixiao was a lofty and mighty existence in his heart. But now, if he were to really engage in a life-and-death battle with Reverend Purple Sky, the final victor would only be known after the battle. Excluding the sky dome background behind the 2 of them, Xing Hui would have a 90% chance of winning if he were to first engage in a war of chaos and deprive her of the chaos level before engaging in a fight with her. Golden Core Realm alchemy puppets have 2 combat forms. One is the weapon spirit form, which activates its combat ability. Its specific strength is about the same as a never-ending realm expert who has cast the divine art. The other form is the control form, which requires a human cultivator to enter it and unleash its combat ability as if wearing armor. With the assistance of the weapon spirit of the alchemy puppet, coupled with the human's reaction and judgment, the puppet's combat ability is often 10 to 20% stronger than the weapon spirit form. For those puppet masters who are proficient in using alchemy puppets, they can even unleash the power of a Golden Core Realm alchemy puppet to the level of a true Golden Core Realm expert. Therefore, if you have time, you might as well practice how to use these two alchemy puppets. Xing Hui introduced. In fact, when he was introducing these alchemy puppets, he had a strong sense of dissonance in his heart. This was because the alchemy puppets gave him a feeling that was too similar to the mecha in the science fiction world of Earth. The puppet itself was equivalent to a mecha, and the weapon spirit was equivalent to the auxiliary intelligence carried by the mecha itself. If it were not for the fact that Xing Hui first came into contact with the cultivation system and not alchemy in this world, he was afraid that he would have suspected that he had transmigrated to a future science fiction world that was dominated by metal and mecha. I will practice well. Nailin Fei said cautiously, when you plan to go and buy the Golden Core Realm puppet, I had already specially understood the combat methods of the puppet masters in detail. Practice well. Well, don't forget to cultivate in addition to practice. After all, cultivation is your foundation. If you can step into the prominent divine stage as soon as possible, no one will dare to talk nonsense about you as the sect leader of the Qinglan sect. I will do my best. Nailin Fei nodded seriously. After handing over the two alchemy puppets to the Qinglan sect, Xing Hui did not waste any time. He continued to use the wandering spirit control technique to go to the Nine Heavens astral wind layer to polish his consciousness. As his mental strength level continued to rise, the sword intent in the Scarlet Abyss sword was also completely subdued by him. Naturally, it lost the effect of sharpening his mental strength. Now, the only way he could sharpen his mental strength was to rely on the wandering spirit control technique and borrow the power of the Nine Heavens astral wind. But even so, the efficiency of the improvement of his mental strength level was still very slow. It often took 2 or 3 months to climb up one level. At this speed, it would take at least 2 or 3 years for Xing Hui to reach the 125th level of mental strength that he had set for himself. Half a month quietly passed by. After half a month, Xing Hui once again appeared in the branch of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce in the Heaven Wasteland world. Because of the importance of the matter, this time, in addition to Gong Xing, even the General President of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, Yin Xing, who had always been only responsible for the overall situation, came in person. However, because the Wasteland Divine region had a rule that did not allow powerful beings to step in, President Yin Xing only sent a clone. The one who was really responsible for presiding over the transaction was a vice president of the Jindan stage who came with him. When the two sides met, Xing Hui did not immediately take out the Heaven Splitter sword that he planned to use as collateral. Instead, he handed over the 4 newly obtained chaos spells. President, please take a look and see how much these 4 chaos spells can be sold for. The several presidents looked at each other and quickly handed the spells to another old man of the Jindan stage next to them to determine the origin of these spells. Not long after, the old man had already stepped forward and whispered, "These are not the chaos spells of the disciples of the major forces of the Heaven Wasteland world, but these 2 chaos spells are backed by 2 powerful beings." Good. A smile appeared on President Yin Xing's face. "We can accept these 4 chaos spells, but due to the possible hidden dangers of 2 of them, we'll sell them for 240 Dao rhymes. What do you think, Mr. Dong Yang? 240 Dao rhymes." This price was lower than Xing Hui had expected. However, when he thought about the trouble that the primal chaos method trade could bring, and how he would have to bear a portion of it, Qing Su still agreed in the end. Sure. 240 Daoist rhymes it is. After saying that, he said to Gong Xing, "After obtaining these 240 Daoist rhymes and selling these items, my Daoist rhymes gap would be almost filled up. Therefore, I don't need to borrow 300 Daoist rhymes. Thank you for making the trip. It's no problem. I've heard of Mr. Dong Yang for a long time and have long wanted to make friends with you. It's my honor to be able to meet you in person today." President Yin Xing smiled. Even though he was a powerful being, his attitude towards Xing Hui was still quite respectful. After all, according to their understanding, Senior Dongyang was an invincible giant who was suspected to be in the divine realm. Thank you. Xing Hui nodded slightly. As one of the 6 major chambers of commerce in the infinite wasteland world, the Milky Way Chamber of Commerce had the support of a colossus like the Myriad Star Sect. Its financial resources were naturally quite strong, and with the presence of President Yin Xing, many things could be decided directly. This transaction was extremely efficient. Before long, the vice chairman had brought out 3 chests of Dao-carrying items and handed them to Qing Su. Senior Dongyang, please take care of them. Your wondrous items and treasures have sold for a total of 509 Dao-carrying items, and the 4 chaos techniques have sold for a total of 240 Dao-carrying items. That's a total of 749 Dao-carrying items. But Xing Hui looked at the 2 treasure boxes in front of him. The Chaos Temple had indicated that there were exactly 749 Dao rhymes in them, so he did not need to count them one by one. Thank you. We should be the ones thanking you. It's our honor that Senior Dongyang chose our Galaxy Commerce to make this deal with us, Feng Bujue said. President Yin Xing said sincerely. What he said was the truth. Even though the items sold in Green Ruins were extremely expensive, and most of them could even be considered market value, they only needed to operate the auction for so many precious treasures and sell them together with other items, and they would still be able to make a profit of at least 50 rhymes of ways. Moreover, aside from the profit, selling so many precious treasures in one go would increase the reputation of the entire Milky Way Chamber of Commerce. This was what the Milky Way Chamber of Commerce truly valued. Looking at the 2 big boxes Xing Hui put into his personal space, Silver Star's eyes were full of envy. Senior Dongyang, if you have extra Dao rhymes, you can consider putting them in our Milky Way Chamber of Commerce temporarily. Our Milky Way Chamber of Commerce has been established for thousands of years, and the Myriad Star Sect, which is the security of the Milky Way Chamber of Commerce, has a history of tens of thousands of years. Even today, there are still 3 invincible divine realm giants in the Myriad Star Sect. Among them, the Supreme Elder, known as the Master of Stars, is one of the best on planet Tianhuang. Although he may be slightly inferior to esteemed Zhu Zhao, who is ranked in the top 10 of planet Tianhuang, he once established his supreme status by killing an adult divine beast. Xing Hui nodded with a smile. If I have Dao rhymes and need to store or invest in them, I will definitely choose the Milky Way Chamber of Commerce. Then we'll wait for that day. Silver Star said with a smile. Xing Hui exchanged a few more pleasantries with Silver Star and the others. Without wasting any more time, he returned to his personal space. Previously, he had accumulated a foundation of 261 Dao rhymes. Although a part of these Dao rhymes belonged to Hidden Sword Venerable, but at least he could use them for the time being. Now that he had obtained 749 Dao rhymes, the total number of Dao rhymes in his body had reached an unprecedented number of 1,010, a 4-digit amount of Dao rhymes. This was already above many first-rate chaos organizations. It should be known that even the first-rate chaos organizations usually only had 600 to 800 Dao rhymes. In other words, Xing Hui's wealth alone was more than that of a first-rate chaos organization. Unfortunately, he was afraid that he would have to hand over the 1,010 Dao rhymes before he even had a chance to use them. With a trace of reluctance, Xing Hui did not hesitate to set his eyes on the 10 golden crows' inner cores in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. Then he bought all of them. Chapter 537. 10 Golden Crows' Inner Elixirs. Xing Hui sighed. The 10 Golden Crows' inner elixirs had made him bankrupt. Not only had he used up all his Taoist rhymes, he also owed the Hidden Sword Honorable more than 200 Taoist rhymes. Without any unexpected gains, he might not be able to gather 200 Taoist rhymes in 1 or 2 years. Fortunately, I've already unified the Eastern Wilderness. If I put in some effort to supervise, I'll be able to gather 50 to 60 Taoist rhymes every year. Besides, the blood-red statue in the Sky Dome Empire can also provide me with a lot of Taoist rhymes. As for the specifics, I'll have to see if the Sky Dome Empire has fought with other middle-sized or large-scale forces. Tsing Hui calculated in his heart. The annual production of Taoist rhymes in the Eastern Wilderness was not low. However, even if Tsing Hui had unified the Eastern Wilderness, it did not mean that he could gather all the Taoist rhymes in the Eastern Wilderness. Most of the time, if an immortal-level cultivator found 1 or 2 Taoist rhymes and used them secretly, who would know? Therefore, it was normal for him to gain 50 to 60 Taoist rhymes in a year. It was just like how a human's theoretical lifespan could reach more than 100 years without cultivation. However, only a minority could live that long. It was normal for them to be around 70 to 80 years old. Now that I've settled the matter in the Eastern Wilderness, I'll return to the Hidden Sword Honorable to condense the Sovereign Golden Core. Tsing Hui rested in the Eastern Wilderness for a few days. He then used his transformation skill to travel through the void and brought Duanmu Tong and the rest back to the Hidden Sword Sect. When they arrived at the Hidden Sword Sect, Tsing Hui only asked Duanmu Tong to stay. He then asked the rest to return to the Hidden Sword Peak. He then returned to the Hidden Sword Peak where the Hidden Sword Honorable was cultivating in seclusion. There was a powerful sword formation on the peak. If an almighty were to barge in recklessly, he might be severely injured or even killed by the sword formation. Cultivating in seclusion here was enough to ensure that he would be safe. After activating the sword formation according to the method taught by the Hidden Sword Honorable, Tsing Hui sat down with his legs crossed in the cultivation room. He shook his hand and the deep red sword floated in front of him. Then a golden crow inner core appeared in his hand. Under the activation of his Zhen Qi, the energy within the golden crow's core was instantly drawn out. It was like a scorching sun that had shrunk countless times, emitting a radiance so intense that it was impossible to look directly at it. Under the guidance of his sword intent, the radiance was like thin threads that constantly permeated the Scarlet Abyss sword. Then, it was absorbed by the golden core that had fused with the Scarlet Abyss sword. In an instant, the entire Scarlet Abyss sword became completely red, as if it was constantly being refined in a furnace, emitting a blazing and violent aura. 3 days later, the Scarlet Abyss sword completely digested the golden crow's core. Very good. Even though my mental strength hasn't even reached the 120th level, the Scarlet Abyss sword itself has a powerful sword will. After subduing this sword will, it helped me refine the power of the golden crow's inner core and fused it into this peerless golden core, allowing me to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Even though my mental strength is only at the 118th level after this period of refinement, in terms of absorbing the inner core and fusing the golden core, I can unleash the effects of the 128th or even the 138th level. There was a trace of a smile on Tsing Hui's face. A divine sword with a sword spirit and one without were two different concepts. In particular, the sword will of Tsing Hui's Scarlet Abyss sword was extremely powerful. Even though it had yet to become a true sword spirit, it still had a surprising effect on him. Continue. After resting for half a day, Tsing Hui took out another golden crow's inner core and repeated the method from before, rapidly refining the energy of the golden crow's inner core into the Scarlet Abyss sword. As the golden crow's inner cores were continuously refined, the Scarlet Abyss sword's radiance grew brighter and brighter, and the aura it emitted also grew stronger and stronger. After Tsing Hui refined 3 golden crow's inner cores in one go, the Scarlet Abyss sword seemed to have reached its limit, as if it could no longer contain any more energy. The peerless golden core is complete. Tsing Hui's eyes shone with a bright light. At this time, if he wanted to, he could already use the method in the Blazing World incantation to derive a divine power and break through to the divine power realm. The peerless golden core has a 60% chance of condensing a divine power, a 20 to 30% chance of condensing a great divine power, and a 20.5% chance. In addition, there is a 15% chance of failing to derive a divine power and causing the golden core to collapse. Tsing Hui's gaze fell on the Scarlet Abyss sword. The backtrack technique could only set up a space-time coordinate in his body, allowing him to return to the moment the space-time coordinate was established. However, his golden core had already merged with the Scarlet Abyss sword. Although he could keep the Scarlet Abyss sword in his body and continuously refine it with his essence, chi, and spirit, the two had already separated. The backtrack technique's effect could not be used on the Scarlet Abyss sword. Once the golden core collapsed, his cultivation would be completely gone, and even the Scarlet Abyss sword would suffer irreversible damage. When that time came, he could not guarantee that he would be able to gather enough resources to cultivate a peerless golden core again. Since I've already reached this step, it would be a pity if I didn't reach the peak. Thinking of this, Xing Hui immediately made up his mind. In the next moment, a golden crow's inner core was once again guided into the Scarlet Abyss sword to be refined. However, because the peerless golden core had already reached the upper limit, the Scarlet Abyss sword could not absorb the energy from the golden crow's inner core at all. For a moment, it actually showed signs of dissipating. "Refine!" Xing Hui shouted. Sword essence exploded. The brilliant sword intent in his spiritual world seemed to carry a vast and mighty power that could burn the sky and boil the sea as it blasted into the Scarlet Abyss sword. Instantly, not to mention the energy drawn from the golden crow's inner core, even the unparalleled golden core felt like it was going to be melted and reborn. Not enough. Xing Hui frowned slightly. In the next moment, the sword essence in the Scarlet Abyss sword exploded. The resplendent sword intent that also possessed a scorching and violent presence was rapidly activated, merging with the Qing Su sword light that shone like the sun. As the two sword intents stacked together, the supreme grade golden crow's Niden that was only showing signs of melting began to rapidly melt. As it melted, the energy within the golden crow's Niden poured into the supreme grade Niden, causing the inside of the supreme grade Niden to constantly mutate. It seemed like it was about to evolve again. Energy. There's not enough energy. Xing Hui's gaze turned to the remaining 6 golden crow's inner cores. Without any hesitation, he directly injected 2 of them into the Scarlet Abyss sword and rapidly refined them. After obtaining the energy from the 2 golden crow's inner cores, the peerless inner core in the Scarlet Abyss sword shone brightly. The entire Scarlet Abyss sword seemed to have turned into a small blazing sun. The blazing aura was vast and mighty, causing the 100-meter diameter of the cultivation room to turn into a purgatory furnace. It was enough to burn the body of a golden core expert to ashes. That was not all. In particular, the 2 sword essences in Xing Hui's body and the Scarlet Abyss sword pushed the blazing aura to the extreme. If it was just pure heat, a golden core expert could still circulate their inner yuan to resist it. However, in addition to the blazing heat, there were also 2 vast and brilliant sword essences. It was enough to shake the spirit of any golden core expert who stepped into the cultivation room. They could even be incinerated in one fell swoop. After the spirit was incinerated, there would be a blazing fire to burn it. It was not an exaggeration to say that a golden core expert would be reduced to ashes. From this, it could be seen how vast the heat in the cultivation room was. I can't waste the energy from the golden crow's inner core like this. Xing Hui's gaze swept across the room. In the next moment, the supreme celestial technique of 10 burning heavens was used. In the narrow space of the cultivation room, a 10 suns realm was formed. It continuously absorbed the energy emitted from the golden crow's inner core and condensed it into the 7 blazing suns in the void. In an instant, the various energies seemed to form a cycle. The core of the cycle was the peerless grade golden core in the Scarlet Abyss sword. Under the continuous tempering and polishing of various energies, the golden core finally completed its final transformation. It emitted a radiance that was even brighter and more dazzling than before. The surface of the radiance faintly carried a special charm. That was the charm of immortality. The immortal golden core. It's finally done. Xing Hui's eyes were filled with uncontrollable joy. The supreme golden core. Although the degree of danger in upgrading a peerless grade golden core to a supreme golden core could not be compared to the process of evolving a golden core into a divine ability, without the correct method, the difference in resources required to upgrade from a normal golden core to a superior grade golden core, from a superior grade golden core to a peerless grade golden core, and from a peerless grade golden core to a supreme golden core. In other words, some people only needed 3 or 4 Golden Crow's inner cores to transform a peerless grade golden core into a supreme golden core. However, for some people, even 20 or 30 Golden Crow's inner cores might not be enough for them to take that crucial step. One had to know that a Golden Crow's inner core was sold for 100 Taoist rhymes in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. If it was sold in the outside world, the price would definitely be 50 to 60% higher. As for 20 or 30 Golden Crow's inner cores, even 3,000 Taoist rhymes might not be enough. This was a terrifying number that was enough to make a colossus like the Heavenly Tao go bankrupt. How many Golden Crow's inner cores are left? Xing Hui scanned his personal space. This time, he had used a total of 5 Golden Crow's inner cores to transform his peerless grade golden core. However, Xing Hui looked at the 10 sky-burning supreme immortal technique in the void, and his eyes lit up. Out of the 5 Golden Crow's inner cores, 3 Golden Crow's inner cores were enough to transform the peerless grade golden core. Although the remaining 2 Golden Crow's inner cores were somewhat wasted, most of them were gathered in the 7 blazing suns formed by the 10 sky-burning immortal technique. In other words, he had only used 4 Golden Crow's inner cores to transform his peerless grade golden core. Let's do it in one go. I'd like to see how much the supreme golden core in my body will transform after absorbing and refining the remaining 2 Golden Crow's inner cores. Xing Hui took a deep breath. Without hesitation, the 7 blazing suns formed by the 10 sky-burning immortal technique projected a vast and blazing energy into the deep scarlet sword, which was gradually dimming. With the injection of this energy, the deep scarlet sword emitted a dazzling radiance once again. Streaks of immortal aura were mixed in the radiance, causing the radiance to be filled with a sense of supremacy, holiness, and supremacy. Supreme embryonic form. This golden core already had the foundation to derive a supreme superpower. Chapter 5:38. A month passed quickly. In the Burial Sword Peak's cultivation room, the blazing heat dissipated and many energy fluctuations disappeared. Xing Hui opened his eyes and waved his hand. The 7 dim scarlet sun discs were stored in his personal space. The Sovereign Golden Core. Its capacity is 3 times that of a peerless golden core. If I want to perfect the Sovereign Golden Core, Xing Hui calculated carefully and came up with a despairing number. 26. He still needed 26 Golden Crow inner cores. 26 Golden Crow inner cores. Even if he bought them from the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, he would need to spend a total of 2,600 Tao rhymes. If he bought them from the outside world, even if he bought them at a lower price of 150 Tao rhymes, he would need 3,900 Tao rhymes, which was close to 4,000. 4,000 Tao rhymes. This was already close to the value of the culprit behind the destruction of the divine wilderness, the treasure that carried Tao. Back then, that divine object had caused countless invincible giants of the divine wilderness to take action, causing the entire divine wilderness to be shattered. Because of that supreme divine object, countless cultivators had fallen. The divine wilderness, which even a divine existence like one thought to create a world, had entered a cultivation winter. After 10,000 years, it had become even worse than before. Currently, the strongest in the divine wilderness, they were only at the 1st or 2nd level of the divine realm. Right now, if Qing Su wanted to cultivate his supreme golden core to perfection, he would need an item that was close to that divine artifact. Just the thought of it was enough to make him despair. Unless he could flatten the entire heavenly Tao and destroy it completely, taking over all the stored presence of the heavenly Tao and capturing the 8 Tao sovereigns and the 36 Tao sovereigns alive and forcing them to hand over their personal items, only then would he have any hope of achieving his goal. Otherwise, it was a fool's dream. None of the 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 religions, or 9 sects could take out so many Tao rhymes. Even if the top Myriad Star sect, which had the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, was destroyed by him, they would not be able to take out nearly 4,000 Tao rhymes. No wonder there are no supreme divine ability cultivators in the divine wilderness. Even during the ancient times when the divine wilderness was full of experts, supreme divine ability cultivators were extremely rare. Xing Hui rubbed his forehead. Once a supreme divine ability was formed, it meant that the cultivator was invincible in the saint realm. Even the domains of saints could be torn apart by the domineering power of supreme divine abilities. This was the ultimate pursuit of everyone in the divine wilderness world, but it was also an extravagant hope. If it wasn't for his strong will, he would have regretted not deriving the divine ability when he was in the perfected golden core realm. As long as he could successfully evolve a great divine ability, he would be able to rely on the strength of his extreme sword Dao to go against the divinity when there were other powerhouses directly restraining him. Whew! Xing Hui let out a long sigh. Deriving divine powers is still a long way off. However, when a sovereign golden core erupts with the power of the golden core, it is usually close to the power of a normal divine powers. A sovereign golden core cultivator can even keep his life in front of a divine power realm expert and escape unscathed. In a situation where the divine weapons on his body are 2 grades higher, he can stand shoulder to shoulder with a divine power realm expert. With my sovereign golden core as the foundation, I have fused it with my natal godly sword to create the ultimate sword Dao. The power of the Scarlet Abyss sword has already increased by another level. Xing Hui sensed it. The power of the Scarlet Abyss sword might not have reached the level of a great divine ability, but it was already above the level of a normal divine ability and was at the level of a great divine ability and a pinnacle divine ability. I still need at least 2,600 Taoist rhymes. I still owe the hidden sword Venerable more than 200 Taoist rhymes items. I still need 2,800 Taoist rhymes. Where am I supposed to find these numbers? Xing Hui let out a long sigh and ended his closed-door cultivation. As the array on the burial sword peak dissipated, the people of the Hidden Sword sect immediately knew about Xing Hui's condition. Not long after, Xiao Luing, who was still the sect master of the Hidden Sword sect, and a few others arrived at the burial sword peak. Grand Supreme Elder. Xiao Luing bowed respectfully to Xing Hui. Greetings, Grand Supreme Elder. The 2 men and 1 woman behind him also hurried to greet him. What's the matter? Grand Supreme Elder, the current situation of the 36 peaks has basically been cleaned up. The peak masters and elders have punished those who should be punished, crippled those who should be crippled, and cleaned up those who should be cleaned up. We've all come up with a plan. I'll let Di Xiao, Xian King, and Luo Hongchen report it to you. Xiao Luing said respectfully, and then secretly transmitted a message to Xing Hui. Grand Supreme Elder, these 3 people are the ones I've picked out from the sect. They're very talented and loyal to the sect. I didn't tell you beforehand that you might entrust them with important tasks, so you don't have to worry about them faking it. Grand Supreme Elder, please examine them carefully. Qing Su nodded slightly before looking at the 3 of them. The 3 of them were quite young, between 200 and 300 years old. This age was actually equivalent to an ordinary person in their 30s or 40s. They were in the prime of their lives and were in the prime of their lives. Among the 3, Di Zhao's cultivation was the highest, at the Golden Elixir realm. The remaining Xian King and Luo Hongchen were at the peak of the never-ending realm, but they also had a chance to reach the Golden Elixir realm. If either of them were to sit on the sect master's throne and cultivate in the Hidden Sword continent, which was exclusive to the sect master, they would probably reach the Golden Elixir realm. He sized them up for a moment, and then said to Di Xiao, "You go first." "Yes, Grand Supreme Elder. I'm responsible for investigating the Dragon Shadow Peak, Sky Water Peak, Red Glow Peak. There are a total of 11 peaks." Xing Hui listened quietly. Xiao Luing had been the sect master of the Hidden Sword sect for so many years after all. Even though his management of the sect was rather unsatisfactory, his understanding of the Hidden Sword sect far surpassed the Great Elder, Qing Su, by countless times. The 3 people he recommended were all quite capable when it came to handling sect matters. At the very least, when the 3 of them introduced the results of the 36 peaks of the Hidden Sword sect in the past month or so, they explained everything clearly and logically. Moreover, They all had their own unique ways of dealing with the matters of the sect. Among them, Di Shao carried out an iron-blooded approach, punishing offenders severely. King Xian lived up to his reputation and dealt with matters gently and tactfully. Although Luo Hongchen was a woman, she did not want to be outdone. Moreover, her handling of some problems was quite impressive. Tsing Hui listened carefully to the reports of these people, slightly modified the punishment, and added some of his own opinions. Then he said to them, "Then, these things will be done according to your plan. 3 days later, those who have committed serious crimes will be put on trial, and everyone in the Hidden Sword sect will know the consequences of committing crimes. As for those who have committed moderate crimes, they will be detained, and those who have committed less serious crimes will be given a chance to redeem themselves." Speaking of this, he could not help but think of the Golden Sword sect, a chess piece placed in the Hidden Sword continent by the Black Gold continent. Aren't there many forces outside the continent and chaotic organizations supporting many chess pieces in the Hidden Sword continent? Let them uproot these forces and contribute their own strength to the Hidden Sword sect. Xiao Luiying and the others respectfully answered. Supreme Elder, in 3 days' time, the trial conference, I won't preside over it. You do it. Tsing Hui said, and his eyes fell on Luo Hongchen. Let her cooperate with you. Hearing this, Xiao Luiying suddenly understood something. Supreme Elder Tsing Hui already had a suitable candidate in mind. As long as Hidden Sword Venerable did not object, and Luo Hongchen did not commit any serious crimes in the following period of observation, the throne of the Hidden Sword sect would fall on Luo Hongchen in the future. At this moment he looked at Luo Hongchen with some envy, but he did not show it on his face. He just nodded and said, "In that case, I will certainly give Supreme Elder Tsing Hui a satisfactory explanation. Well, you may leave. Goodbye, Luiying and the others." Xiao Suiying said and then left with the 3 elders who didn't know what was going on. After the 3 of them left, Tsing Hui could not help but divert a part of his spirit into the chaotic divine palace, and then came to his personal space. "I have to get more Dao rhymes as soon as possible," Tsing Hui said, and already appeared in the Primordial Trade Association station. "Master." At this moment, the one in charge was still Xen Long. Xen Long knew that he was only in the spirit refining realm, so he could not help Tsing Hui much. Therefore, he spent most of his time and energy in the Primordial Trade Association, hoping to help Tsing Hui run it well. At present, he and Blazing Glory were the main forces of the Primordial Trade Association. "Well, I remember that not long ago, you told me about a commission in the Cloud Sea continent with a profit of 100 Dao rhymes. Is this commission still available?" "Yes, the 3 major sects in the Cloud Sea continent are fighting endlessly, and there is no clear winner in a short time. However, the commission price has been lowered." "Lowered?" Tsing Hui frowned. "How much has it been lowered?" 50 Dao rhymes. Xen Long hurriedly explained. "The main reason is that half a month ago, a Golden Core Realm expert took this mission. Hao Ran sect once cancelled this commission, but for some reason, this mission was put up again 3 days ago, and the price was lowered to 50 Dao rhymes. 50 Dao rhymes. With the loss of 50 Dao rhymes, Hao Ran sect's inexplicable way of lowering the price made Tsing Hui somewhat unhappy. He could only ask again, "Are there any other high-value commissions?" Remember, distance is not a problem. You can consider the peripheral continents that are far away from the sea beasts. The peripheral continents are generally lacking in Dao rhymes, so it is difficult to offer a high price. Master, please rest assured. At present, we have developed a lot of underlines and gradually have some scale. I believe that the probability of receiving a mission with a higher cost-performance ratio will increase by a lot. Good, 50 Dao rhymes are still Dao rhymes. Take the commission, contact their people, and have them provide the coordinates. I will first go to the Cloud Sea continent to see if there are any other gains. It is not necessary to do things for them. Yes. Xen Long respectfully responded. But the Cloud Sea continent is 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers. Tsing Hui waved his hand. With the cooperation of the backtrack technique, the weakening effect of 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers was nothing. If it was not for the fact that he himself could not send down a Golden Core Realm avatar, it would not matter if he threw his Golden Core Realm avatar over to solve these problems. Backtrack technique? That was a supreme power that could reverse time and space. Even the collapse of the physical body and the annihilation of the soul could be healed, let alone the weakening effect of the avatar. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.